Hello. Hi, Scooter. Are you in here? Did you win at the casino? Hi there. Wow, look.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Sorry, we were discussing whether Mickey Mouse. Does Mickey ask them here? Does Mickey Mouse have a tail? Okay, let's see what they say when we get there. I've got to find you on YouTube anyway. Where's my YouTube?
Oh, it just popped up now that you're live.
Hopefully it's here. Let's see.
I'm in the live.
I'm staying alive. All right, let me go to live. I closed a bunch of windows, so I lost my live. Here's my live. Okay. There we go. Hello, Tilly. How are you? Jan and Lisa. No, the time hasn't been changed. We were discussing the Mandela effect. Sorry. Yeah, we got a little held up. No tail. Lisa says no tail. Hi, One Eye. No tail. Okay. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Tilly. All right, so I've got more interviews here. Let's see. And like I said, because I was pregnant at this time, like I covered I didn't cover because I wasn't doing true crime on YouTube then. I was interested and I watched the trial, which was in 2011 when my baby was, the youngest was like 2. But I was pregnant and finishing my bachelor's degree when this happened. And where the heck is my lip stuff? So my lips are chapped and I'm biting them, and that's not good because then they're not good. But that's why I don't remember a lot of this stuff. You guys remember all these interviews? I don't, but I'm learning a lot about the family and her through these interviews. So I don't ever remember hearing them. And maybe even if I did, I wouldn't remember. It's been so much time. I don't know. Okay. Sorry about that, but I have to do that. Otherwise, people yell, oh my gosh. I'm terrible. That's one thing, bad habit I have. If my lips get chapped, then I bite them and then they start not good. All right, let's see who we're going to read tonight. I've got a bunch of people. We've got Sean Daly. We have Anthony. Who else? Ricardo we have. You want to do, let me see. Nathan. I need my glasses. Can't see a thing. Ricardo, Nathan, Jonathan. We have a Jonathan Daly and a Ryan Paisley, and I think there is also a Sean Daly. Let's do the Sean Daly because we've heard a lot about this guy. And this is July 17th. So this, did we do Sean? We didn't do Sean, right? No. No, we did Sean. Did we do Sean last night? Let me see. She always mentioned the nanny. Yeah, I think we did Sean. Yes, we did Sean. Okay, good. So now we can do Ricardo. And we also have a Jonathan Daly. I think that might be, is that Sean's fault? My brother went to school with her. This must be, okay. Let's do this one since we did Sean. Who remembers? We did Sean. Hi, Val. Does anybody here remember we did Sean Daly? Pretty sure, right? Anybody remember? It's scary though. You don't even remember from the day before. This is really crazy. I know I did Mr. Grund, and I know I did Melina, But I think we did Sean Daly, didn't we? Because I remember him spelling out Annie Downing like that. Does anybody remember? Mandela effect. Lisa, do you remember?
I don't remember
Caylee
either.
even managed to get with her home lawyer. Yeah, I know. Does anybody remember? I guess not. Well, you guys can think about it if you remember one. Okay, so this is going to be Jonathan Daly and Gerald Wright. You don't remember, Lisa? Oh, great. Okay. Last night I tried too hard to listen, but I rocked you to sleep. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll have to go back and check. I don't know. That's weird. All right. So this is Detective Rivera, and then well, why does it say we have Detective Rivera, and then it says we have Detective Gerald White? That's weird. Okay, but we have Jonathan Daly. All right, let's. Jonathan, you're a pretty close friend of Casey. Jonathan says, yeah. And then Rivera says, Casey Anthony, right? Mm-hmm. How long have you known her, says Rivera. And Jonathan says, well, my brother went to high school with her and met her maybe before I was going to high school, 8th grade. Shoot, I don't know. Probably somewhere between 6 and 8 years, I guess. Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, just off the top of my head, Rivera says, all right. And she used to come here to get, and who is it? Jonathan says, tattoos, Rivera says. Jonathan says, yeah. Rivera says, and all that. When was the last time you saw her? Jonathan says, it's been a couple of weeks. She came in. My brother was getting tattooed, and she came in just to hang out. And a couple of friends, our friends did. And I seen her then, maybe over 2 weeks, just off the top of my head, guessing again. Rivera says, when she got her tattoo? Jonathan says, yeah, I wasn't here for that. I work a second job. Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, so I was actually out of town when she got it done. Rivera says, but you saw her here? And then he says something inaudible. Rivera says, or at another place. Jonathan says, yeah, I saw her here then. It was a couple days before she got tattooed. She was hanging out and she set up the appointment then to get tattooed. Rivera says, so a couple days before she got her tattoo? Correct, Jonathan says. Rivera says, when was the last time you saw her daughter? Jonathan says, how many times have I seen Caylee? Rivera says, oh, no. When was the last time? Jonathan says, I want to say her birthday, her second birthday. Rivera says, and when was this? Jonathan says, it's been a while. Probably at least 9-10 months ago, I think. I believe her birthday's in October, November. I can't remember exactly. Rivera says, at her birthday? Jonathan says, mm-hmm. Rivera says, okay, do you guys usually hang out recently? Jonathan says, not so much recently. The last time we hung out, we usually have like parties and stuff over at my house. Rivera says, mm-hmm. Jonathan says, it might have been a couple of months ago. Like we really just hung out. Other than that, I've seen her occasionally, just a couple of times. Rivera says, but you guys were pretty close. Jonathan says, yeah. And then Rivera says, you dated at one point? Jonathan says, more in like high school and stuff. More like that, a little bit more. Okay, Rivera says. Jonathan says, when we used to, when nobody really had jobs. Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, and we were working full time where we had to hang out. It was mostly then. Rivera says, and she started hanging out with another type of crowd, or Jonathan says, Rivera says, another group of friends? Jonathan says, yeah, as far as I know, for the last year and a half, I've been working 2 jobs. Rivera says, Jonathan says, so I haven't been about to really hang out as much as everyone else. But from what you know, my really close friends and stuff like that, they say that she's become like, somewhat distant, like hanging out with people that none of us really know. Rivera says, it's been going on for the past few months? Yeah, says Jonathan. Rivera says, or 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Jonathan says, I don't know exactly. Rivera says, so she'd be hanging around with people. Jonathan says, just that none of us really know. Rivera's like, okay. Jonathan says, I mean, even with that being said, like anytime I've seen her, since then, she's always acted like normal Caylee. I mean, not a care in the world. She's always been like that. She's always been like the mother figure in the group, like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Rivera says, how's her relationship? How was your relationship with her daughter, Caylee? Jonathan says, obviously, your current events in life, like, can't tell you, or face value. Rivera says, But Jonathan says, anytime I've seen her with Caylee, she's been an amazing mother, like totally, completely bonded. A great mom. Just nothing negative, Rivera says? Nothing odd? No, says Jonathan. This is the day after Casey Anthony was arrested that this interview took place. Rivera says nothing that, Jonathan says, that's the craziest part. Rivera says Jonathan says, Rivera says, any comments that you might have heard? Jonathan says, no, that's the weirdest part about all this. For everybody, like if any of us if somebody said, hey, out of everybody, who is going to be in this situation? Casey Anthony would never come to mind. She would never come to mind. Rivera says, okay, do you know who her boyfriend is? Jonathan says, no, I've heard the name like Ricardo. That's not from her, but like from other people. And as far as I know, nobody really knows him either. Maybe in like that the people she's been hanging out with recently, he might be friends with everybody else, but like us, none of us know him personally. Then Rivera says, okay, anything you think might be important for this investigation? Jonathan says, that's the thing. Like, I can't think of anything that's been out of the ordinary. Nothing. Then Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, it's so beyond everybody that she's completely fine with everything. And if June 9th is the last time Caylee's been seen, like, how is she okay with that, Like, she's acting completely normal. Rivera says, June 9th, what? Jonathan says, well, isn't that the day they're saying that that's the last time she's been seen, or that's when she was dropped off or something like that? Rivera says, yeah. Jonathan says, yeah, if that's the case, I've seen her 2 or 3 times, just like on occasion here at the shop. She's acted completely normal. Rivera says, and that was back when, oh, you mean Casey? Yeah, says Jonathan. Rivera says, and that was when? Jonathan says, between June 9th and now, I've seen her probably 2-3 times, just here hanging out and stuff, like maybe once or twice. I don't know exactly, but yeah, she's acted completely normal in that time frame. Rivera says, but you told me the last time you saw her was a couple of days before getting the tattoo. Jonathan says, yeah, which was what, 2.5 weeks ago? Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, so within the last month and a half, because June 9th is what, over a month, right? Rivera says, she's hanging around. Okay. Jonathan says, yeah, like, like, just let she comes in, like, because all my friends, I grew up around here, like all my friends and my brother, we all started getting tattooed here. Rivera says, yeah. Jonathan says, when we were real young, so we've been coming in here for years. And then when I started working here, Rivera says, so you, a couple of times in June, and by the end of a couple of days, maybe June 1st, May, the end of May. Jonathan says, between the dates of like June 9th and today, I've seen her probably 2-3 times. Rivera says, okay. Jonathan says, and that's just, Rivera says, so it could have been the end of June, the beginning of July. Jonathan said, sure, that works. Rivera says, okay. And you swear all the statements you made today are true and correct? Yes, I do, says Jonathan. And that was the end of Jonathan. So I guess Jonathan is Sean's brother. He has to be. And I really do think we did Sean last night. Okay, let's see. Who is Nathan? That is, let's see, let's do Ricardo, because Ricardo's on the 16th? No, now here it says the 16th here, but it says July 25th here. What did, hold on a minute, what's his name say on the thing itself, July 17th? Okay, so Ricardo got interviewed July 25th. All right, let's do Ricardo. And with Ricardo, we have, I don't know which one. Oh, Detective White. Now, see, this is so backwards. See, it is July 16th. Look at that. They're so messed up. Today is July 16th, and they have July 25th. Today's July 26th. Oh, my God, it says 16th. All right. So this is the day she was arrested. That's weird. 9:31 p.m. That's around the time they got Ricardo. Okay. Let's see. So they ask him Ricardo Morales, and then this is Detective White. So Detective White says, all right, and this interview is in reference to Casey Anthony. I don't want to mess up your sink and stuff right there. Your sink. Ricardo, how do you spell your last name? And he says Morales. QES. Put the ES. The White says ES? Yeah. And then your first name, Ricardo? Yes, said White. Okay. Then White says, what's a good phone number for you? They redact that. Your date of birth, they redact that. Then he says, all right, tell me, how do you know Casey Anthony? Ricardo says, from the first time I met her? White says, yeah, Ricardo says, okay, I met her at a birthday party at Amy's house. Oh, that's Amy, and we got text messages from her. Says White. And then Ricardo says, for her roommate, Lauren, at the time, Casey was there. I'm not sure if she was a friend of Lauren or a friend of Amy, worked for Lauren. I don't know. With Lauren. Okay, right, says White. And then Ricardo says, basically, I met her at that party. White says, okay, so you met her at a birthday party, and how do you guys hit it off? You see her, she sees you, sparks fly? Ricardo, oh, no. As far as this, like, dating, it wasn't. I mean, I had just met her that night, so no, nothing happened from there. I moved up to Orlando in August. White says, Ricardo says, and we just hung out from there. That's when I really actually got to know her, and then we started dating in the beginning of February. White says, okay, all right, so you would say that June, July of 07? Ricardo says June. White says June. Ricardo says early June. White says, you moved to Orlando in August 07. You see each other? Yeah, says Ricardo. White says, you hang out a little bit? Ricardo says, we have mutual friends and stuff. That's how we got to know each other. White says, okay, so February comes and you guys make the leap of faith. You guys start kicking it. Ricardo says, after, my birthday on the 23rd or whatever, we had a party here, and that's when things got serious, I guess, and that's where we took it from there and actually started dating. White says, okay, so you guys start dating. Do you guys maintain separate residences? Does she stay over? Do you stay over? How'd that work out? Ricardo says, she lived with her parents at the time. She'd come over and stay over probably, 3-4 times a week. Most of the time with Caylee, very rarely without her. White says, okay, and that was here at Glenwood? Ricardo says, here. White says, all right, so she'd stay over here with you, and she slept with, you guys shared a bed. Ricardo said, uh-huh. White says, where'd Caylee sleep? He says, in the same bed. White says, all right, so 3 of y'all in the same bed, and happy couple? Ricardo says, yeah. White says, how would you characterize your guys' relationship? And Ricardo says, fun. I mean, it never really got too serious. White says, uh-huh. And then Ricardo says, yeah, we pretty much broke up because of that, because it wasn't getting serious. And White says, okay. She wanted to be more... and then Ricardo says, and then White says, or you wanted it to be more. Ricardo says, I told her I just didn't, my feelings for her weren't growing at all. So I decided, there's no reason to keep doing it. White says, okay. And Ricardo says, and she agreed. We were fine. It wasn't like a fight or anything about it. And, from there we kept hanging out. And then she got a new boyfriend. And, we hung out less. So White says, okay. Then Ricardo says, that's pretty much how it's been since then. Then White says, so tell me this. When you guys were in your relationship, what'd you guys do? You go to the movies? What'd you guys do? Ricardo says, we did a lot of just hanging out here, actually. We didn't go we didn't go out too much. I did go out and get some food every now and then. I don't even think I ever saw a movie with her, but basically, for the most part, we were just staying in. White says, okay, so Ricardo says, we just stay in, hang out here. White says, safe to say you guys would chill on the couch? Ricardo says, uh-huh. White says, with Caylee, in between y'all, laying on one of you, watching movies? Ricardo says, well, by the time I get off work, it was pretty much Caylee's bedtime. So when I get home, Caylee's put to sleep, and White says, just chill? Ricardo says, do our thing, yeah. Then White says, okay, how'd you get along with Caylee? Ricardo says, just fine. I mean, she was, from what I think an average kid sees, she'd have her tantrums now and then, but I had no problems with it. I mean, I didn't have any problems with her at all. White says, did she like you? Ricardo said, I would like to think so, yeah. White said, did she give you a big hug when she happened to see you? Ricardo said, yeah, she would. Her mom would tell her, go give Ricardo a hug, and she would and stuff. She never had a real problem with me, so. She gave you a big hug, White said? Normal, little kid size. Ricardo says. White says, a little kid size? Ricardo says, yeah. White says, all right. Ever she give you a kiss on the cheek or anything? Nah, not regularly. If she did, it was one time, two-time thing, says Ricardo. White says, okay, did you guys play? Ricardo says, yeah. I'd play with her, I'm not too good with kids. I mean, I'd lift her up and stuff and do what made her laugh and every now and then, but I don't know. I haven't really ever been in a relationship where there was a kid involved, and, I've never really been around kids too much, so I guess I'm not too good with that. I did what I could. White says, but you weren't mean to the kid. Ricardo says, no, I wasn't mean to her. White says, okay. So it's kind of like, well, you didn't have any kids, you never had any kids. Ricardo says, oh yeah, I was just mainly trying to, adapt to being around a kid. White says, do the best you could. Ricardo says, yeah. White says, okay, so would you say that Casey interacted with Caylee? How'd they get along? Ricardo says, I thought they got along just fine. From what I saw with her and Caylee, she was always attentive of Caylee. I mean, she fed her, changed her, gave her juice, made sure she had all the little teddy bears to go to bed with. I mean, from what I saw between her and Casey, her and Kay, Casey and Caylee, it was a good relationship. I thought Casey was a good mother. White, a lot of hugs and kisses. Ricardo, yeah, she was pretty affectionate with her. White, did she ever let's just say you guys were here together, all three of you. Did she ever have to go to the store and leave Caylee with you for a few minutes? Ricardo, Casey? No. Yeah, says White. Ricardo says, no, if I vaguely remember one time where she wasn't here and Caylee was here, I don't even know if that happened, but it may have been that she just ran out to go get something and came back. But if she did, it was just once. White. While she was gone, did Caylee give you any problems? No, says Ricardo. If this happened, if I'm remembering correctly, she was asleep. Oh, okay, White says. So, says Ricardo. White says, so you're pretty comfortable with her. With Caylee? Ricardo says. Yeah, says White. Yeah, says Ricardo. And you and Casey got along pretty well? Yeah, says Ricardo. White says, tell me what you thought about Casey as a person, and be honest. Don't sugarcoat it, okay? If you think she was, she was mean, she's mean. If she was sweet, she was sweet. Ricardo, I'll tell you exactly what I thought. She was a very nice person. White, Ricardo, she is a nice person. She seemed to be very agreeable. If you say something, whether or not she's actually done it, she'll say she has. And a lot of stuff she'd say, I think it was a little bit BS, but it's very trivial things. So I never paid it too much mind. Besides that, she was very nice. She was caring. She was I got sick one time, even after we were dating. She came and cooked for me food, chicken soup, and all that stuff. She was a very good person. She did care. And I got along with her great. White says, Ricardo says, but, White says, okay, so you guys' relationship ends when? Ricardo says, middle of April. White says, okay, so middle of April, you guys, listen, this is not going anywhere, I don't foresee us going any further than this. Ricardo says, yeah, pretty much. White says, and she says, does she say, what can we do? Ricardo says, no, she agrees. White says, Ricardo says, she says my feelings for you haven't really increased either, and it's probably a good thing that we stop, so. White says, fair enough, nobody cries, right? It's cool. Ricardo says, yeah, we came back in, we sat on the couch, kept doing what we were doing, she went home that night. White says, okay, was Caylee with her then? Ricardo says, no, she wasn't here that night. White says, okay, so that's in April. You still see her after that time, between that time and now? Do you still see her? Ricardo says, yeah, up until probably the end of May. Okay, White says, Ricardo says, yeah, we'd still hang out a lot. She'd come over a lot. She'd bring Caylee over every now and then. It wasn't as if, as when we were going out, especially her sleeping over, it wasn't as much at all. But she would still come, hang out and stuff. We were still friends. Everything, was fine. White says, When was the last time that you can remember seeing Caylee? Ricardo says, June 9th. Her and Casey slept over. So it would be Tuesday, June 10th in the morning. White says, why does that stick out in your head? And Ricardo says, because the Thursday, the 12th, it was my friend's going away party, Hannah in Tampa. So I went down there and saw her. And, I just went from there as far as I went back. And, well, obviously, I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, when is the last time I saw this kid? And that was when it was. White says, so they slept over June 9th into June 10th? Yeah, says Ricardo. White says, and you haven't seen her since then? Ricardo says, no, after that, I saw maybe 3 weeks later. Who, Casey? White says, yes, no, Caylee. Ricardo says, no, I haven't seen her since then. White says, okay, but you saw Casey maybe 3 weeks after. Ricardo says, yeah, 3 weeks. About that, I would say that 3 weeks. White says, okay, and when did you see, when was that 3 weeks after that? Ricardo says, when did I see her? Yeah, says White. Ricardo says, she was here. Amy's been staying here for about 2 months. Says White. Ricardo says, because she doesn't really have a place now. She was downstairs talking to Amy and saw her when I woke up to go to work. White says, do you guys, what do you say? Hi, hello? What's happening? And then Ricardo says, yeah, it was probably like 5 minutes that I was here, and then she stayed a little longer, but, says White. Ricardo says, that's the extent of when I saw her that time. Then I saw her again. I left on vacation, which was July 2nd. White says, okay, on July 2nd, where was that? Where do you think Caylee was? Ricardo said, she would just tell us she was either with the nanny or their mom. And being that I hadn't seen her in like 3 weeks, ever since I saw Caylee, I didn't see her enough to think anything of it. Like I didn't see her consistently without Caylee. I saw her 2 times after that. She didn't have Caylee, and I didn't really think much of it because, well, one of the times I was just going to work and she was here talking to Amy, and the other time she just didn't have Caylee, and I didn't, I don't know, I just didn't think anything of it. White, have you ever seen the nanny? No, I've never seen her, never talked to her. White, did you and Casey ever go on a date with, did she ever go out on a date, period, go out? Ricardo says, yeah, we'd go out. To pretty much food is the only date we do. White, Detective White says, and Ricardo says, White says, did you ever go on a date without Caylee? Ricardo says, yeah. White says, where was Caylee if you guys went out on a date? Ricardo says, I would assume with her mother or with Zanny, who's the nanny of Caylee, which is what Casey has told me the whole time I knew her. If she's not here, she's with one of those two. So White says, okay, so have you ever been in Casey's mom's house? Yeah, says Ricardo. I went there once. And did you meet her mom, says White? Ricardo says, no, her parents, they weren't home. They were at work. Ricardo says, White says, okay, and Caylee was there that time? Ricardo says, White says, so you got to see the house and everything else? Yes, says Ricardo. White says, okay, what do you remember? Do you remember if Caylee had her own room? Ricardo says, she did have her own room. Okay, says White. Did Caylee have any, when I was a kid, when I was little boy, I got passed down a teddy bear named Bob. He's still in the family now, He made it through. He's had several surgeries. And then Ricardo says, okay. Says White, teddy bear injuries. Did she have a stuffed toy or anything like that? Ricardo said she had a few that her mom would bring over for her to go to sleep, a teddy bear, a little baby doll. Is that the doll? Says Ricardo. And then, yeah, that was the name, Mama. And then White says, the doll's name is Mama? Ricardo says, yeah, I think the teddy was Teddy. She had a few. And then he says, yeah, Teddy Mama. There was like 4 of them. White says, okay, you get back from a trip. I mean, you go on a trip. Ricardo says, yeah, we just got back yesterday. White says, okay, you got back yesterday. Tell me what happens when you get back. He says, and then White says, after the airplane landed, tell me what happened. Ricardo says, airplane lands, we go get our luggage. Casey came to pick us up. The arrangement was that she would come, pick at least one of us up, because nobody had a car that would fit us all, so Casey picked us up, drove someone back, and then we got picked up again, and that's exactly what happened. Says White. Ricardo says she took Amy. Amy took Casey to her boyfriend's house, and then Amy came and picked us up. White says, okay, where do you go when you get back? We came here, Ricardo said. White says, all right, so what do you do when you get back? Ricardo says, we got back. Amy and JP shortly after go to the mall. Says White. Ricardo says, I stayed here, and then shortly after that, stuff went down with Amy, finding out things about Casey that, she's been lying to her about stuff. And then after that, that's pretty much what we talked about. And then we found out that Casey had stolen I don't know how much money from Amy through a checkbook. $400 through a checkbook that Amy had left in her car. And then I eventually heard from Casey's mom the issue with Caylee not being seen for however long. Okay, White says, and there's an issue with we haven't seen Caylee in a while. Ricardo says, yeah, I'm aware of that. White says, if you were me, you're the police, you've been tasked with trying to figure out what's going on, where would you point me to look? Ricardo says, if I was, from what I feel right now, I know just about as much as about Casey as you probably do. I mean, everything I thought I knew about this girl was not the truth. Says White. Ricardo says, so I feel like the person we're talking about now and the person that I knew before are 2 different people. I mean, I don't really feel like I knew her. Apparently, where she worked wasn't true. Her nanny, no one knew her. I really don't know what to think. White says, where'd she tell you she worked? Ricardo says, at Universal Studios. White said, did she ever take you there? Ricardo says, as an event, no, never took me there. White says, never got you. Ricardo said, she had, White says, a free pass? No, says Ricardo. We tried a few times to go to a concert or something, but it always fell through. And then, maybe because she didn't work there, but she'd talk about it like a lot, to the point where I would never guess that it's not true. Like she had her boss Tom, and she had her best friend Juliet that she'd talk about, and it all added up. I don't know. I mean, I had no reason to question it or anything, but White says, did she consistently go to work like, I gotta go to work, I gotta go to work? Ricardo says, well, she had a great schedule, apparently, She just, if she didn't want to go to work, she could work from home. And I mean, she sometimes have to go to work early in the morning. Sometimes she'd have to go to work late at night. White says, did you ever see her work at home? Ricardo says, I never saw the work that she did. She never brought it here, and I've only ever been to her house once, and when I was there, I didn't see her working at all. White says, okay. Did you ever see any, pictures of her at home? At her house that was, universal or anything behind her or anything? Not really. Okay, White says, ever see... Ricardo says, but then again, I wasn't looking for that at the time. I just assumed what she's telling me is true, White says it right. You ever see, how they were that name tag with, it would have been Ricardo from Tampa? The ones they wear, they're kind of like... Ricardo says, yeah. White says, you ever see anything like that? Ricardo says, no. I did not see a name tag that I can remember. Okay, says White. Have you ever gone on any trips? Any day trips, any night trips? Have you ever gone away with her on a road trip or anything, Casey? Ricardo says, no. Nope. You ever take her to Tampa or Ybor or anything like that, says White? Ricardo says, no, she actually met me in Tampa one time. I was there for a wedding. Uh-huh, says White. Ricardo says, I was there for a wedding. She came down, met me in Tampa, so I guess, I don't know if that constitutes a road trip with her, but did she stay overnight with you? White asks. No. She stayed there, I think. They got married on Sunday. She was there Saturday pretty much throughout the day. Then she left at night. White says, okay, did she bring Caylee? No, she didn't. Okay, have you ever found anything of yours missing, any money or anything like that? No, says Ricardo. I heard that she had gotten a hold of something like a credit card of mine, but I didn't know when it was. All of mine are accounted for now, so... White says, you never had noticed any charges that were, weren't made by you or anything? Tonio says, no. I've looked at it. There's nothing big enough that I would have been concerned about at the time to not pay it. Mm-hmm, says White. Ricardo says, okay, so if she did charge anything to it, I guess it must have been paid off. If it wasn't a big charge, if it was a big charge, I would have noticed it, but I never saw anything that was either a large amount or it was large enough that I bought. So none of my statements were suspicious at the time, at least not to me. White says, okay, do you have any other information you think I need to know about with between Caylee or Casey or anything else? Ricardo says, that I know of, honestly? No. I wish I could tell you more. And if you have any more questions for me, I'm more than willing to answer them, but as far as her relationship with Caylee in front of me, at least, she seemed like a fine mother. She took great care of her and all that stuff. Outside of here, I don't know. I assumed she had a nanny. I assumed her mother was watching her, but, yeah. A lot's changed as far as what we found out lately, so... White says, okay, did you ever meet her new boyfriend? And Ricardo says, I met him once, yeah. White says, what'd you think about that cat? I shook his hand pretty much, and that was it, says Ricardo. White says, one of those things, how you doing things? Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't talk to him at all. White says, did you know the guy was her boyfriend when you met him? Ricardo says, well, he wasn't her boyfriend at the time. White says, okay, so when you met him, he was just some cat, some guy? Ricardo says, they were talking, and they were pretty much going down that path to be going out, but they weren't at that time that I met him. Okay, says White, and did you ever discuss meeting him with Casey? Ricardo says, how so? You mean if I wanted to meet him? White says, no, after you met him. Did you ever talk to Casey? Yeah, he's all right. Or Ricardo says, well, she was right there, so she knows I didn't really talk to him at all, so we never really brought it up as far as like what I thought of him, because I really had no opinion of him. I didn't talk to him at all. White says, okay, raise your hand. Everything is the truth. Yeah. And then, let's see. That was, okay, that was the same day that she was arrested. Now, Lisa says, didn't she charge a lot of money? Well, I think that's probably that friend, Amy, that she stole the money from. $400? Okay. So let me see who we have next. Okay. All right, we have Melina. We did Maya. Let's do Ryan. Ryan Paisley, right? And Yuri. Okay. So this is July 30th. And that date's right. Okay. July 30th. About 2 weeks after she was arrested. Yuri says, hey, is this Ryan? And this is a telephone call, this one. Ryan, yes, who's this? Yuri, now I'm about to throw my phone out the window, so if you hear something crash, that's what it's going to be. Ryan, were you trying to pick it up or something? Yuri, yeah. I keep seeing your phone number call. Every time I pick it up, it doesn't want to. The button doesn't want to work. It's... Ryan laughs. Yuri, I'll tell you. Ryan, I work at a place. I can get you a cell phone, buddy. You just let me know. Says Yuri. Yuri says, that's the icing on the cake right now. Ryan says, yeah. Yuri says, hey, I was wondering if you had a couple of minutes. Oh, yeah, says Ryan. Yuri says, to talk to me. Yeah, Ryan says. Okay, Yuri says, well, since I'm doing this over the phone, I really have no idea who you are, so kind of give me some information to verify. What's your date of birth? Gives him that. That's redacted. Okay, you currently live in Jacksonville. Yeah, you go to school in Jacksonville. And Ryan says, well, yeah, I mean, I live here, but I won't be living here for much longer. After I graduate, I'm going back down to Orlando, but I currently do reside in Jacksonville. Yuri says, what's a good mailing address? Okay, they get through all that. Yuri says, okay, I'm going to try to make this brief. I know it's dinner time, so I don't want to interrupt you too much. Ryan says, yeah, I mean, take your time. Man, I'm willing to talk. Yuri says, tell me what you know. Well, first of all, yesterday we talked a little bit. You said, I guess you've known Casey since you're about 5 years old. Ryan says, yeah, 5 or 6. I've known her for a long time, most of my life. Yuri says, okay, would she consider you one of her best friends? Ryan says, prior to any of this, she always referred to me as one of her best friends. I don't know what she would think of me now, because of all the media coverage and everything else. But yeah, definitely. I mean, she knows pretty much everything about me. Okay, let's see. Yuri says, okay. Yeah, because when I was looking in her phone book, I know she has you listed as best friend. So that's why I'm, reaching out, hoping that... Ryan says, yeah. Yuri says, recently, when was the last time you actually saw her? Ryan says, okay, I actually saw her. This would be shite. It would have to be, I'm in July. Here we go. Yuri's like, Ryan's like, just some of my dates are all misconstrued. I know I saw her, maybe 2-3 weeks before the actual date that she said Caylee went missing. Yuri, so it would have been the end of May, the beginning of June. Ryan says, yeah. And I believe I saw her once, while I was in Orlando, a couple of weeks couple of weeks after that, but I don't recall. And now I wish I would have, At the time, I wasn't thinking that I was going to have to remember the dates, Yuri, yeah. When you were in Orlando? Ryan, yeah, I was just in Orlando 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. Okay. Yuri says, just to visit your family, or... Ryan says, yeah, exactly. I mean, family, friends, I definitely spoke to her. I don't remember if I talked to her, but I definitely spoke to her. I mean, every time I'd come in town, we tried, to hang out, something, but sometimes it doesn't pan up with her schedule or mine. Yuri, Ryan, or her supposed schedule. Yuri, if you look at a calendar, I've got one in front of me. I've kind of been using this for a whole bunch of friends to narrow down dates. If you look at a calendar right now, could you probably give me a ballpark of what day you drove down and what day you went up? Ryan, oh, sure. Let me pull up a calendar. Yuri, sure. Ryan, it would be June. I'm going to say it was the weekend of June 14th. Says Ryan, Yuri. Ryan says that's actually seems about right, because I think that's when I met with my family. We ended up going to the beach. Me and my family ended up going to the beach that weekend. Yuri, June the 14th. And how long did you stay? How long did you stay in Orlando? Oh, until that Saturday. Yuri, okay, so 14, 15, 16th? Right, says Ryan. Yuri, okay, did you... Ryan, so I think it was 13, 14, 15, like whatever those dates are, and I left that Sunday. Ryan, so it would have been 13, 14, 15th. Yuri, yeah, 13, 14, 15, okay. Ryan, yeah. Yuri, did you meet up with Casey that weekend? Ryan, no, I spoke to her. And apparently it just didn't pan out. She was supposed to be, I believe, she was supposed to come to my aunt's house, but she never made it out there. There was a big get-together at my aunt's house that day, and I'd spoken to her throughout the day, and I can't remember what excuse she came up with, but yeah, there was something. She just never ended going out there. I know we had a big cookout with all kinds of stuff. Yuri, did she end up inviting you to Fusion that night, or did you go that weekend that she knew you were coming down, or did she even know you were coming down? Ryan, no. I mean, she knew I was coming down. Well, I spoke to her. I mean, probably half the drive down there. I mean, I was giving her directions to my aunt's house and everything, but no, she never mentioned Fusion. I mean, in fact, I don't think she's ever mentioned that place to me until I saw it in the reports. Yuri, Ryan, and she never mentioned to me actually going there. Yuri, okay. When did you first find out about this whole thing between her and Caylee? What was happening with Caylee? How'd you find out about it? Ryan, you mean the actual incident, or Yuri? Well, the fact that Caylee is missing. When did you first find out about that? Ryan, I heard about that the morning she got arrested. Yuri, okay, did you hear it from her, or you hear it from the news? Ryan, yeah, I heard it from her mom. Her mom called me at 8:30 in the morning. Yuri, okay, and I guess you're... Ryan, and then I spoke to her at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's when I got the, Zenaida Hernandez crap, and then, John Hopkins and all that, which, again, I was telling you yesterday, doesn't seem right. Yuri says, yeah, it's Jeff Hopkins, but, well, let's talk about this Zenaida. You said Zenaida and crap. That kind of obviously, that piques my interest. Ryan, yeah. And she was just, I've never heard the name, and it doesn't, to me, it doesn't even sound like a real name, but I've never heard that name in my life. And suddenly, Casey has known her for about 4 years, she said, because I asked her specifically because I was trying to get people up here. Yuri, Ryan, that know how to find people. Yuri. Uh-huh. Ryan says, I was trying to give them information as much as possible. Apparently, she's known her for 4 years. She moved from New York, possibly. I think she said North Carolina as well, or South Carolina, one of the two. And, then you just, trying to give me information on it. But what I found really odd was that I've never heard the name of the nanny. In fact, I've heard of another name. I can't think of it now, but it was, definitely a Caucasian woman name. And it was, she was babysitting her child. Yuri, when was the first time that she ever mentioned Zneda or Zanny to you? Was it on the 15th or was it before that? Ryan, it was the morning that she was getting arrested. Yuri, okay. Ryan, yeah. Yuri, so prior to that, ever since I guess the age of 5, she's never mentioned the name Zneda? Ryan, never. Ever. Yuri, okay, well, I know you're going to school in Jacksonville. When did you start living in Jacksonville? I guess full time, so to speak. And I know you're back and forth. Ryan says, yeah, I come back and forth all the time, but I moved up here, I guess you could say January, right at the beginning of the spring semester. Yuri says, okay, so prior to January, you're kind of in the Orlando area? Ryan says, yeah, I was living here with my parents, yeah. Yuri, okay, and prior to January, I guess, would you and Casey go out often, or? Ryan says, yeah, I mean, we'd probably we probably get to see each other well at times, it could be fairly often, every once a couple of days, and then other times maybe I'd see her once every 2 weeks or something, but I saw her pretty often. Yuri, would she normally bring Caylee along, or would she normally leave Caylee somewhere? What kind of, give me an idea. Ryan says, it was probably maybe a third of the time I saw Caylee. The rest of the time, she said she was with, but she said she was with her nanny or the parents. And the nanny, once again, I never heard the name Zneda. It was another Caucasian name, like maybe a Jenny or a Krista or a Kristen, something like that. But it was definitely not a Hispanic name whatsoever. Yuri, could it be? Ryan, I know that. Yuri says, could it be Christina? Ryan says, Christina. That sounds a little more, that sounds closer, but again, I mean, I don't want to, Yuri says, no, that's fine. Ryan says, Yuri says, did you ever meet one of her friends by the name of Christina? Ryan, I don't think so, no. Yuri, okay, so I guess when she was down here and she was either with Caylee or without Caylee, how would you describe her? I mean, was she okay with Caylee, or did she seem frustrated as a single mom, having a hard time with it? Ryan, I mean, for the most part, she seemed okay. I think the biggest frustration on her has to be, if I have to be honest, was the situation that she got, I mean, I guess has with her parents, that their relationship, Yuri, just bossed her, or? Ryan, both. Yuri, okay. Ryan, I mean, she's always kind of had a complaint about, her mom stepping in too often and stuff like that. I mean, but I always defended her mom in that case, just, because you're living with your mom. What are you, you're a young mom. She's older. She knows what she's doing. So, Yuri, she ever make any, I know the pregnancy was like unexpected, and maybe you can't even answer this. Who was the baby's father? Ryan. The one thing I know, okay, and actually it is Apparently some transient guy, some random guy. I have no idea. Yuri, Ryan. And because I know that there was a guy here by the name of Jesse that was in Caylee's life. And, well, I guess they dated for a while sometime. But, Caylee is not his daughter. The other guy, all I was told is that, he died in a car accident. And that was what I was told by Casey and Cindy. Yuri, well, yeah. Did she ever mention a name? Did she ever mention a name? Ryan, the name of the guy? No, absolutely not. I don't know why. That never came up, but no, never. It never did. Okay, and then Yuri says, okay, well, back to the way she was acting. Was she making any, and again, this is a very young single mom. Did she ever make any statements to you like, what if she hadn't had Caylee and how her life would have turned out? Ryan, oh yeah, definitely. Yuri, can you give me an example of what she would say? Ryan, well, for, getting along the lines of, well, sometimes I wish I hadn't, because I'm young and I can't go out, I can't do the things I want to do. That was pretty common. Yuri, did she ever say to you that wishing she never, let me ask you this way. Did her mom and her ever have a conversation about an abortion at the time she was pregnant? And her mom was really against that? I keep hearing that from people down here, but I figured you might be the one to ask. Ryan, I don't know. I know the family very well. I've been over there a billion times to eat and things. I never heard a conversation like that, but I don't really know that her parents would go for something like that. Yuri, Ryan, just because of, we have some political conversations and things. Yuri, Ryan, they don't seem to be very, something inaudible in their social. Yuri, right. Ryan, or physical politics. So I don't know that they would necessarily say that, but again, I've never heard it, so I don't know. Yuri, okay, that's fair. Do you know, we've already talked about Jason, Jeffrey Hopkins, never heard of him, Juliette Lewis. Oh boy, ring a bell to you at all? Ryan, Juliet? Yeah, Juliet. I don't know, the last name was Lewis, but I know Juliet. She's been mentioned, yeah. And I don't know in what context, Yuri. And a friend of work or something like that, you want to narrow it down. Oh, yeah, Juliet. Doesn't that, definitely not from work. The only people that I really know her to talk about from work, I guess she never really worked there for very long anyway, where there were guys. Yuri, okay. Ryan, but Juliet sounds like a friend. I definitely don't think it was a coworker. Okay, Yuri says, can you tell me a little bit about where she used to work? I guess she started last year. I don't want to go too far back. Ryan, well, okay, the whole time she was supposedly working at Universal, and that's the only thing she ever told me. I think that was her biggest problem with her, is that, well, with me especially, is that, she had this issue with, trying to be a one-uppy. And I guess she felt kind of like her life wasn't necessarily going in the direction she wanted it to go. So every time she would talk to me, and maybe that something was going, good for me. Like I finished up with my final exams, or I'm getting this much closer to graduating. She would always come up with something to kind of make the playing field level between the two of us somehow. Yuri, Ryan, I guess she felt like it was a competition. Yuri, right. Ryan, so when it came to the job situation, I guess I guess it was a lie, but She was an event coordinator at Universal Studios. Yuri says, how long was, tell how long you think she had been telling you she was doing that. Oh man, says Ryan, for quite some time. And I know probably 2 years. 3 years probably. Yuri says, really? That long? Ryan says, yeah. I mean, I guess at one point, because her mom called me trying to confirm some lies that Casey had said, her mom called and said, because, at the time I was, I was like, at 21, I was at Sports Authority, and yeah, I guess because I loaned her $4. Yuri, Ryan, while I was working there, and I guess at one point she was telling her mom that she worked at Sports Authority with me, and then, Yuri, and go back to the $400. I think I missed that one. What was that about $400? See, he said $4. It was $400. Well, I just lent her $400. Oh, well, I didn't lend her. I mean, it was, right, says Yuri. She was supposed to give it back, but I lent her $400 for what she said was rent to her parents, which it didn't make any sense to me because I would think as a single mother that doesn't really have faculties to take care of a child that you're not going to charge their daughter rent. I think he means facilities. Okay, Yuri says, right. Ryan says, but I went along with it because whatever. I don't know. I guess she needed it more than I did. All right, says Yuri. So I gave her the $400, and I guess during that time she was telling her mom she worked at the Sports Authority, and many nights later, she, that was her excuse. That was the reason why she was staying out late. It was because she would be doing inventory, things like this. And that's the only reason why her mom never really got upset about it. And that is even what even Cindy told. The only reason why Cindy got upset about it was like she knew I was there and that she was okay, when in fact this never happened. Says Yuri. Ryan says she never had worked there. She never worked there. She just hung out with me because I was. Yuri, let me guess. Was this a Sports Authority over here in Waterford? Ryan, well, no. Originally, that's what Cindy told me is the original that she worked in. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. And then she said she transferred to the one in Waterford? Yuri, but she never worked for Sports Authority? Ryan, she never worked at Sports Authority, but that's what she told her mom. Yuri, well, when did you find this out? Last year or just recently? Ryan, no, I found this out about a month. No. 3 months ago, 3.5 weeks before Caylee went missing. Her mom, Cindy, says Yuri. Ryan says, called me and told me not to talk to Casey because she didn't want me to get hurt because she's been lying about a lot of stuff and stole money from her and her grandmother, and she doesn't want me to get hurt, which I said, okay, I understand. And she, seemed really upset, and she just calling me to tell me all that and what was going on, and also to ask about some lies that she suspected that Casey was telling. Oh, says Yuri. Ryan says, yeah, so she called me. Her mom called me, in my summer semester at one of my classes. I remember the specific time, what I was doing, and she basically told me, look, I don't think it's a good idea that you have talked to Casey anymore because she's the actual those are the exact words that came out of her mouth was that she was a sociopath. Yuri says, her mom said this? Ryan, yeah. Yuri, wow. And does that match the Casey that you knew? That was Yuri that said that. Ryan says, it makes sense. I mean, I just thought that Casey was like a little bit of a white liar, you know? I'd catch her in certain like lies. Oof. You know, just stupid things about what she was doing or who she was hanging out with. And so it never really caught my attention. And then, later on, I start finding out that she's doing drugs. And she never ever did drugs. And when she did drugs and when she... And we were always totally against. I mean, everybody smokes pot. I get that, but it's not a big deal. Yuri, Ryan, yeah, especially in college. I mean, I know you're a detective. You probably don't want to hear this come out of me, but no, Ryan, it's not a. I'll tell you straight up, this is Yuri. When I was in high school, I did the same thing. So, man, it's okay. Ryan, yeah. But, and so you can understand that. So, man, I mean, she started telling me that, smoking pot and this and that. Yuri, well, what other this and that? Because, I'm trying to make sense of what her friends are telling me down here. Ryan, but that's literally what she would say. I would say, like she would get into drugs and I would ask her specifically, like, what? And she'd say, well, just pot and, whatever else is around is actually, that's the sort of way she put it. Yuri, do you know if she was rolling? Was she doing? Ryan, Yuri, was she doing X? Popping pills? Or, Ryan, it's a very good possibility, I mean, to be honest with you, because, just the fact that she always, released to me that she was doing smoking pot, she always known that I've been totally against it completely. You're right, Ryan. And just the simple fact that she released that little bit of information. If she felt very apologetic even. She even told me that, like she was trying to explain herself over and over again. Yuri, how long ago did she? Ryan, so Yuri actually opened up to you about this. Ryan, oh gosh, maybe a week and a half. Casey or Caylee actually was reported missing. Yuri, oh, okay, so she had some, maybe some pot and whatever else around. Well, Ryan, yeah, that was pretty much the way it was said to me. Just, Yuri, did she say she was having any problems handling all these drugs or any blackouts, flashbacks, anything? Ryan, not that I know of, but again, I mean, everything just, I mean, for the last decade has been a lie. Oh, says Yuri. Ryan, her mom told me that because, I mean, we confirm stories and talk back and forth. Pretty much everything is a lie. Yuri, yeah, all right. Ryan, and her schooling? She said she's been going to school. She's not going to school. All sorts of things. Everything is just a lie. Huh. Amazing, says Yuri. Ryan, I mean it. Go ahead. Yuri, no, I said amazing. Ryan, yeah, no, I mean it was definitely a shock to me because, well, I guess when I'm told something by somebody that I've known forever, I'm just going to believe you. I just don't tend to question it too much. Yuri, sure. Ryan, I guess I thought a little bit further into it and, I put 2 and 2 together and some things started. I mean, it might start to make sense, but yeah, I guess pretty much everything she's ever told me was a lie. Yuri, wow. Well, Ryan, yeah. So, Yuri, well, let me ask your opinion. I mean, you've known her since you were 3 years old. I mean, I just met her a couple weeks ago, and obviously, Ryan, Yuri, I'm not her biggest fan. Ryan, Yuri, but what do you think might have happened? Ryan, oh man. In my opinion, Yuri, yeah. Simply your opinion. Ryan, I, and I don't want to, sound like, I don't know, like a hateful person, but, she definitely, something went wrong. I mean, she was involved in something. I don't know if it was an accident. Yuri, Ryan, because she definitely doesn't seem like the type that would just maliciously go out and kill her daughter. But it kind of occurred to me that maybe there was an accident of some sort. I mean, and I was hearing some people talk about the fact that, like those new slabs of concrete and things that are poured in their backyard at the time, and that kind of stuff just freaking scares me, because then that tells me that the grandmother was involved, and I don't want to think that, Yuri. Ryan, I just think that there was, that there just might have been an accident, and then Casey just got scared and then ran away. Yuri, do you, Ryan, basically, Yuri, do you, Ryan, from everything, Yuri, do you think of it, of all the people that Casey, Yuri says, including yourself, who do you think she would open up to? Do you think she would ever open up to you about this? I mean, come on, if she ever saw you do you think she would ever kind of, strike up a chord, like, this is my friend, I've known him since we were 5. Do you think maybe, Ryan, I think if I spoke to her, yeah, says Yuri, I think if I actually spoke to her, I think that it would definitely, I mean, it would be better than most people that could talk to her. I mean, including, obviously reporters, lawyers. Yuri, right. Ryan, detectives, everything else. I mean, it is definitely, and even if she doesn't give me a straight answer about something, at least I will definitely get something out of her, and maybe lead to something else, because I've often thought about that, if I actually had the time to actually, get one-on-one with her, Yeah, says Yuri. Ryan says, maybe she could let me know what's going on, because, I mean, I can always play the, nice card game. Yeah, the nice guy card. Try to see if I can't help her out or something, Yuri, yeah, well, obviously, I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking you to reach out and talk to her or anything else specific. I'm just saying, I'm not probably going to even do that. Right, says Ryan. I'm not going to put you in that position. With that being said, that you could actually set up a visitation down there, and, where you're, contrary to what the news is saying, that, that we're trying to keep the video visitations confidential. So, Ryan, okay, Yuri, that's what we're trying to do. Ryan, I mean, for me, it's been, that doesn't affect me at all. I don't care if I show up on the news, some video, to be honest. I don't, it doesn't matter to me says Yuri. Ryan says, I have nothing to hide, so whatever, huh? Uh-huh, says Yuri. Ryan says, it doesn't affect me whatsoever, but if I definitely have. I've thought about going down there and making a visit because if maybe something, some way, somehow, she can give me some information. I mean, I don't know how it could happen. I know at this point, the reason why she hasn't said anything is because she lawyered up, But, it says, if she says anything, then of course, excuse me, instead of, getting a simple felony, there's going to be a murder charge. Yuri says, well, Ryan says, so obviously, and then that, Yuri, well, Ryan says, that's a scary thing for her, Yuri says, well, we see we can't even go there because we don't know what happened. Assuming something happened, it's just because something bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that this person is going to, face first-degree murder charges. It doesn't, Ryan, or even, yeah, says Yuri, it doesn't. Ryan says manslaughter or something, but Yuri says, yeah, but it doesn't. But even if it doesn't look good, and there has to be contributing circumstances to it, but of course, the longer we go, the more we start to look at it and go, exactly, right, says Ryan. Yuri says, but, Yuri says, now she understands that. Ryan says, I'm sure all of her lawyers are telling her to just shut up. And hopefully they won't find anything, and says Yuri. And Ryan says, I guess that's what I'm going to assume. Because he actually has called me and asked me questions, and basically what I told them is I answered whatever questions he had. And then, he ended up asking me things like, do you think you'd be a good person to, as a character witness for Caylee? And I said, to be honest with you, Yuri, Ryan, from the truth that I've told you, I'm not going to be, I'm going to be a big detriment to your case. And he's like, yeah, you're probably right. And he even hung up the phone. Yuri, really? Yeah. So, Ryan says, Yuri says, when was that conversation? Ryan says, oh man, 2-3 days after the incident got reported. Yuri says, huh. Ryan says, Jose actually. Yuri says, yeah, okay. Ryan says he called me and he's on his phone, his cell phone, and because Caylee had given him my number, go ahead, give me a call. And I'm going to ask him questions or whatever. And I told him, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I just don't think it's going to help your case, Right, says Yuri. So says Ryan. Then Yuri says, oh man. Ryan says, yeah. And then Yuri says, well, what do you think that, what do you think that would prompt Caylee into actually, opening up? I understand based on what you're telling me, and not only for you, a whole bunch of the other people, she's just a pathological liar. Yeah. Yuri, Ryan, yeah. Yuri, narcissistic, what do you think is the way to get in and, say, hey, now is the time, because she's been making everyone suffer with the, I don't know. Ryan says, yeah, she's just really just to take the fear of God, to be honest with you, because she's the type of person that she's not going to do anything for anybody. Unless there's something in it for her. Yuri. Okay, and then Ryan, and she has to be scared. Yuri, right. And then Ryan, but she really does. I mean, I know her well enough to know that she's always been kind of a hard ass. Yuri, right. Ryan, Yuri, do you know that she had some problems with her mom? Her mom? Yeah, says Ryan. They butted heads in a sense, says Yuri. Ryan says, yeah. What about her brother? How's her relationship with her brother, says Yuri. Ryan says, oh, that relationship seemed fine. In fact, I think she kind of confided in her brother. Oh, okay, says Yuri. Ryan says, as far as I know, that's all it went because her brother was kind of like a third party, you know? Yeah, sure, says Yuri. And then Ryan says, and so whatever she said to him, it just kind of reverberated back to her just to make her feel better. Nothing, no indication that there was any sort of, Yuri, odd relationship or a bad relationship. In fact, I've been over the house when we had parties at their house before. Yuri, over at Lee's house. Oh, okay, Yuri says, so they have no problem. What about her father? Are there any problems there, or is it typical? Ryan, yeah. Yuri, father, daughter, or, well, Ryan, I guess there's a little bit of animosity between the two of them because I guess he had some, issues early on, but I don't know, putting him in a bad spot as far as his credit goes. And he took off a couple of months. Says Yuri. Well, Ryan says, and then he came back and Cindy found out that he was talking to another woman online. And so there were some issues there that he was like, he had some sort of, some valid reasons. But other ones, not so valid to be upset at her dad. But it seemed like for a little while things were getting a little better. But I don't live in the house, and I only know what she tells me. Okay, and then Yuri says, and then Dad left for a couple of months. Is that because of the cheating and something else? Yeah, I mean, basically, pretty much they were getting ready to get divorced. Yeah, wow. Ryan says, so he took off, then he came back. I guess they were trying to work stuff out. And I've been over there, and I've not seen the dad, And, right, says Yuri. But, says Ryan, Yuri says, and does Casey hang out with people? Is she fairly open and kind of, I can't say open up because obviously she's been lying to several people. But, yeah, I would say. Yuri says, Ryan says, I don't know what open up really is. If Yuri says, well, Ryan says, if everything she says is a lie. Yuri says, she considers you one of her, let's say, oldest friends. Is there anything else that pretty much has the same information that you would have down here? Any of female friends she hangs out with? Any of the guys, And basically what I'm doing, I'm trying to reach out to those that have known her the longest. And aside from that, the parents, you seem like one of the people who have seen her the longest. Is there anyone else? Oh, gosh. Yuri, out there to reach to that? To help shed some light on this, ultimately to find Caylee, period. End of statement. Ryan, right. Okay, yeah. No. We don't have any, I don't know. We don't have the same friends. I moved away in 8th grade and moved to Seminole County. Ryan, and went into Seminole County school. So it'd be kind of, as far as the friends that we had our separate friends. But we were still friends now. So no, I don't know many of her close friends. I know she mentions new people all the time. And I don't know. I don't really think she had any close friends. Okay. According to her mom, one of her friends was annoyed with her because she tends to be kind of like, kind of a mooch, Yeah, says Yuri. Ryan, like a leech off of everybody. Says Yuri. Ryan says, so I don't really think she has many close friends as far as that goes. Okay, yeah, says Yuri. Ryan, I can definitely, I mean, if I ever come up with anything down there, I can definitely do that. I mean, I'm on my summer right now. I can take off work anytime. Yuri, well, like I said, I can't ask you to do that, nor will I ask you to do that. Ryan, well, Yuri, well, basically, it's something you're concerned about. I want to ask her, by all means, the visitation. Ryan, yeah. Yuri, is it there you can make reservations and that they're accepting everyone? Yeah, Ryan, yeah, okay. Yuri, Ryan, and how does that work? How does that really work? Like, Yuri says you call the jail, you set up an appointment, they give you a date and time, and then you show up at the scheduled time. It's a video visitation. It's not face to face. You're looking at a, oh yeah, says Ryan. A monitor, says Yuri. You just talk to her, and then you talk to her on the phone, and you get 45 minutes. Ryan, okay, cool. Well, then, I guess, I'll definitely end up having to do that because I feel like I do at least need to talk to her, and maybe I can get her to, I don't know, maybe not necessarily right when she talks to me, but to get her to give you an answer, and maybe then I'll wear her on her a little bit. I don't know, I don't know. Yuri. Yeah, well, I guess that's your decision to make. Yeah, okay. Ryan. Yeah. Yuri. Yeah, okay. Obviously, if you want to keep me in the loop with that, that's fine. If not, okay. Ryan. Okay, definitely. Yuri. I'm not going to, I'm not going to sit here and ask you to do anything specific for me. I know. No way. So, as you understand, I'm not here to manipulate you or ask you to. Right, says Ryan. For anything. Right, yeah. Yep. Okay. Ryan says, I understand it. I understand your position in this whole cog or machine. You know this machine, so you have no worries as far as, as far as that goes. I'll never say that was the situation, and I just want to make it clear that that's not Ryan, yeah. It'll be on my own behalf, and you can be rest assured that if anybody decides to ask me, so yeah, I guess at some point I'll keep you in the loop. It's not that, a problem with me, and in fact, I'd rather, because I get all these TV stations and everybody else calling me all the time, and, I don't even know how they got my number. Okay, let's see here. Uh-oh. Yeah, says Yuri. Ryan says, but yeah, and Yuri says, I just got a call from Dr. Phil today. So, yeah, Dr. Phil, believe it. Really, says Ryan. Well, yeah, says Yuri. Gosh, says Ryan. Yuri says, I'm in the same boat. I actually went and I picked that one up. So, you pick that phone up when Dr. Phil calls, okay? You don't leave Dr. Phil on hold or to refuse his call. It's Dr. Phil. Ryan says, oh boy. Now see, there you go, Yuri says, like I said, the ultimate result is finding Caylee. And Ryan says, yeah. Yuri says, and that's why we're reaching out to so many people in her life right now. It's because she's not giving us the answers. And then Ryan says, yeah, Yuri says, is there anything else right now you can think of that I haven't asked you that could be about Casey or in particular the situation? Is there anything? Ryan, well, other than the reports that she said Caylee was with her mom at the beach. Says Yuri. Ryan, during that time, I don't think that's not the best. I don't know how many, but again, like I was telling you yesterday, I don't know how many months a parent can be at a beach. But Yuri says, yeah, it's not like she's like that crazy lady mommy around me. She's always going down to the beach collecting shells. She could stay there an eternity, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how long Sydney could stay. And then Ryan says, yeah, that's where she said that the baby was at the beach. And this is weeks before. Right, says Yuri. And Ryan says, okay, June 9th, I think that's that's when she said that she went missing. I don't know what that means, but, And then Yuri says, yeah. And Ryan says, other than that, I can't come up with anything else because, well, it probably will if something will snap and I'll find out, it'll jog my memory. Yuri, yeah, well, you got both my numbers, okay? Yeah, says Ryan. And any chance my cell phone doesn't get fixed pretty soon? Says Ryan. Okay, you feel free to call each one, okay? I think I have voicemail. Use my voicemail. Yeah, says Ryan. Okay. Just sometimes I get cut off and I don't get it. Okay, says Ryan. But if anything comes up, you feel free to call me, okay? You have carte blanche. Whatever time, day or night, obviously. If we can get help, call. If we can help, call. Ryan says, okay. Yuri says, and Yuri says, and I'm just a little asleep. Give me a couple minutes to wake up. Yuri says, but aside from that, is there anything else you can think of that, I haven't asked about? Not at the moment. No, says Ryan, but like I said, I'll keep you updated. I'm sure that inevitably I'll come up with something or I'll find something, something like that. Yuri, okay, and you swear, right? You swear and affirm everything you told me is the truth? Ryan says, absolutely, 100%. Okay, well listen, Ryan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so very much. Sure, says Ryan. Okay, and you got my number. Anything comes up, you give me a shout. Okay, detective, says Ryan. Yuri says, fantastic. Thank you so much. Ryan says, all right. Yuri says, bye-bye. Okay, and that was bye-bye. Hello, Heartmaid Wise. How are you? Okay, let me get a drink here. Where's Scooter? Did she get back? We don't even know. She might have won big at the casino and she's, I don't know, just hightailed it out of here. Okay, let's see. Let us see the next one. All right. Okay. Jonathan Daly, Ricardo, we've done. Ryan, we just did. Helena, Nathaniel, Annie, we did. Anthony, who's Camaro. Campus, I don't know who that is. Oh, Christopher, let's try him. This was, wow, hold on a minute. How could this have been June 30th? Oh, I guess so. Right, that was before she was arrested. Okay. Christopher Stutz. And it's Yuri again. The date, June 30th, 9:11 hours. I'm Detective Melick. Okay. Christopher Luke Stutz is the guy's name. Yuri says, all right, Chris. You're aware this is being recorded? Yes, sir, says Chris. Yuri says, you got any objection to that? No, sir, says Chris. Yuri says, okay, you're not in custody, okay? You're free to leave. I closed the door so we could have privacy, but obviously you can open it up and leave at any time. Right, says Chris. Yuri says, and I asked you to come down here today because I'm investigating a case involving Casey Anthony. And I'm just, I'm speaking to you for a couple of minutes. You have some information that I wanted to pay attention to, and hence the reason I want to record it. Well, we backtracked a little bit, but you say you know Casey for about 3 years? Chris, give or take. Yuri, okay. You met her, I guess you met her when you guys were playing football? Chris, yeah, a bunch of friends that get together at Deerwood Elementary, and play football. And, she came down to visit one of her friends who's an acquaintance with me, and we ended up getting to talk. Yuri, well, what was that person's name? Do you remember? Oh, boy, there's a couple of them she knew. Adam Lynch, Matt, and I believe that's it right there. Yuri, and you guys met, I guess, sometime last year. You guys started to date, is that right? Yeah, we were friends, yeah. Then we decided to kind of take it up a notch. Like Emeril Lagasse says. Okay. Yuri says, all right, when were you guys dating? I mean, do you have any kind of an idea of what month? Oh, well, I want to say right before school let out for summer. So maybe March, April? Yuri, okay, so March, April of last year? Yeah, says Chris. How long were you guys dating? Not very long, because we decided to be friends, The whole long-distance relationship just wasn't working out for us. Okay, Yuri says. Chris says, it came out. Yuri says, when you say long distance, where were you living at the time? Chris, Florida State or on up in Tallahassee. Oh, okay, says Yuri. So you're okay. I mean, you're up there, you just come down and you guys meet and date a little bit, and then you're like, this is too far. Chris, yeah, let's just be friends. Yuri, okay. Last summer, do you also go to school during the summer? No, sir, I work during the summer. Okay, so last summer, did you spend any time with her or hang out? Chris, yeah, we hung out a lot, both at my house, her house. We go out to a movie, something like that. Yuri, okay, what did she like to do? Oh, my gosh, she liked to do so many things. I mean, like, we went putt-putt golfing, nothing big. I mean, she wouldn't go to drink, at all, because, well, she didn't want to leave her kid with her mom and dad for too long, okay? Yuri, okay, what kind of drugs was she known to use, either regularly or recreationally? And then keep in mind, I'm not here to try and, Chris, no, suggest anything with you. Yeah, but I have already talked to, my gosh, 20 of her friends, and they're all telling me, look, she likes to do this. This girl likes to party, okay? She'll do this, she'll do that. Chris says, honestly, I have no idea what kind of drugs. I mean, she likes to drink every so often, but drugs? I'm not sure. Okay, Yuri says, what about smoking weed? Chris, not that I know of. I don't smoke weed. And she knew I was very against it. Maybe she kept it from me. Okay. Chris said, because I'm an asthmatic, I can't do that. Yuri, okay. So this year, how often would you say that you've seen her this year? Chris, see her? Yeah, see her. Like with your eyes in your head, or do you need glasses? No, I would say when I came home at the end of April, that was like the first time I really saw her. But I talked to her every so often. She would text me maybe once a week. Okay, Yuri says. Chris says, yeah, Yuri says, and have you been home, here in Orlando since April? Yeah, the end of April. Yes, sir. Okay, says Yuri. Spring, summer break, summer break, I guess? Yeah. Okay, all right. And you came in here with actually a couple of notes and... Yeah. So I'm okay to bring notes? Yeah. All right, I just want to go over a couple of them, okay? It says May 17th. You spent the night at the house. Chris, yeah. Is that your house? Yes, sir, that's my parents, Yuri. You spent the night with Caylee? Chris, my parents weren't home. She ended up staying the night. Yuri, okay. Same thing with Mother's Day? Chris, well, Mother's Day, she just came for the day. Yuri, okay. Chris, Yuri, and Caylee was with her? Chris, Caylee was with her and my parents saw her and, started interacting with them. Yuri, okay, well, it says June 17th, a dark-colored Jeep Cherokee with New York plates. Chris, without Caylee. Yuri, and that was, how did you see her? Did she come to your house with that? Chris, yeah, she drove over. I saw her, I think it was right before I saw her just randomly, and so she decided to stop by the next day, and we didn't really hang out or anything like that. Yuri, how sure are you that it was June 17th? I'm pretty dang sure, okay? My mother and I went over it because I remembered. She remembered Kay, and she remembered Casey coming over, and we had just bought a treadmill. So it was either 17th, 18th, 19th. It was one of those days, okay? Well, okay, says Yuri. We're sure of that, says Chris. Yuri says, okay, so you looked at a calendar. You're pretty confident in those dates, aren't you, right? Yeah, I am. We went over that because she just bought a treadmill and, she was using the treadmill when Casey came over. Okay, did she just stop in to say hi? Did you guys talk about her coming over? Or how did you do that? Oh, she just stopped by to say hi. Is she there for an hour and a half? Who knows, 2 hours? Yuri says, well, was she with anyone else? No. Okay, just then including Caylee. Yeah, including Caylee, Chris says. Yuri says, well, did she say where Caylee was? No, says Chris. Did you ask her? No, says Chris. Okay. And, what was her demeanor when she came to you on the 17th? Oh, my gosh, she was happy, Chris says. She was distressed about her parents. She said that her parents were getting a divorce. Yep, that's what she said, and getting split up. Splitting up, Splitsville, they were calling it quits. Okay, Yuri says, oh, that's bad. All right. Yeah, Chris said, because her dad, was apparently cheating on her, cheating on the mom. Can't believe it. Cheating on her. Mr. Anthony, yep. And so she was upset about that, obviously. But, yeah, she barely went into it. Okay, Yuri said she mentioned anything about dating someone new or what was going on in her life? Well, she knew, at that point, that I already knew about Tony. How'd you know about Tony? Tony? Yeah. Well, one of the text messages about the day she spent the night, just like, hey, what's up? And I don't know the exact words, but she was like, where have you been? Have you checked Facebook or MySpace? That I've been dating somebody? Yuri, and this was around the beginning of May or June? Chris, yeah, probably the beginning of June. Okay, did you ever meet Tony? Chris, no, I never met Jesse either. Okay, Yuri says. When you say text messages, I'm going to ask you this, okay? I have a lot of her friends actually save these text messages. Do you have them saved? Chris, no, I really haven't. I go through about 200 a day. I just ended up deleting them. Okay. So she showed up to your house in June. I'm sorry, your parents' house where you were staying? Yeah. Yuri, on June 17th. Right, Chris says. Okay, June 17th, June 7th, it says Buffalo Wings with a friend. Chris, I was with a friend, just Buffalo Wild Wings, and she texted me saying, hey, I hope you're enjoying your date, I believe were her exact words. Yuri. Well, Chris, and yeah, I asked her, what do you mean? And she's like, she came up and said hi. That was about it. And then she went back with her friends. Okay, and you were there with a girl, I take it, huh? Yeah, is there anything wrong with that? No, I was just asking. Okay, who was she with? Do you remember? As she says here. Yuri says you wrote, Chris says, I think it was Sean Daly, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And she said, I don't know, she said she was with Lassen. I don't know his last name. Okay, Yuri says, what were they doing? Were they just, it was just them three? Chris says, oh, they were just, they were eating. What do you do at Buffalo Wild Wings? You go there to take a bath, you go to there to eat. And watching a little bit of TV. I don't think there were any fights on or anything like that. Yuri says, is that spelling? Chris says, oh, yeah, I believe so. Yuri says, so nothing out of the ordinary that night, right? You were just hanging out? Yeah, Chris says. Yuri says, okay, and between these dates that you wrote down, have you guys, texted or, what? Chris says, I don't know. Yuri says, would you communicate? Not really, Chris says. We kind of fell off from there. I mean, that's when we started talking again, Uh-huh, says Yuri. Chris says, and she texted me on my birthday, which was a few days later, maybe a week or so, and then she was seeing what my plans were for that night, and that, that's it. Okay, and she asked you she tell you what was going on that night, or what? No, Chris said. She didn't tell you what her plans were? No. She said, she asked me what my plans were. I said, nothing yet. I said, I got to work at 8 in the morning, and that was it. She never texted me back. Oh, okay. All right. And that was July 13th and 14th, Yuri said? Yeah, says Chris. Yuri said, did she say anything else over the text messages? Any other conversations? Oh, about where she was staying, what she was doing. Did she throw up any red flags? No, says Chris. Yuri says, it make you go, hey, what's going on with her? No, Chris, no, sir, because whenever we'd go out, she'd always say she was either Casey or Caylee was at the nanny or a parent. She would never give a specific name or a specific location. Yuri. Did, Chris, she said it was by UCF, was the nanny. Yuri. Did she ever mention the nanny's name? Chris. No, she never said. She just said the nanny. Yuri. Have you ever seen the nanny? No, sir. Yuri. Have you ever been with her to drop the kid off at the nanny? No, sir. Okay, you ever pick the kid up from the nanny? No, sir. Okay, what are your thoughts on this nanny? Well, Chris says, I thought it was nothing, I mean, I didn't think anything of it. But now, looking back on it, I should have asked who it was, and whatever. Yuri. Do you know of anyone or a mutual friend that has ever seen this nanny? Chris. No. Because I work with some people that knew Casey. None of them have ever seen this nanny. Okay, Yuri says, speaking of people that you work with or people that that you know together, has she ever mentioned Jeffrey Hopkins? No, Chris said. You have no idea who that is? I have no idea who that is. What about Juliette Lewis? Nope. Okay, Yuri says. Well, did she ever tell you why? I guess while you guys started dating, you started dating last year? Yeah. Okay. She ever tell you who she worked for? Chris, yeah, she said she was working at the Sports Authority for a while. Uh-huh, says Yuri. Chris says, and then after we broke up for a little while, we're still friends. And she said that, yeah, she went to Universal and started working on me. Yeah, she was an event coordinator there at Universal Studios Orlando. Oh, okay. So while you were dating, she said she worked at Sports Authority. Chris, yeah. And, it was the one on Alfalfa and Waterford Lakes. Oh, okay. Did she ever come home with a uniform or a pay stub? No. Okay, you get some rebates on shoes or anything like that? Chris, no, I didn't. No. Okay, rebates on clothes. Have you ever visited her at work? You two were dating? Chris, no, sir. Okay, all right. What about Universal? After you guys broke up, did she ever get you free passes to Universal, hook you up, with anything over there? Chris, no, nothing like that. I mean, the only thing that I don't know, the only thing that, I mean, she had Mardi Gras beads with her name tag on, I mean, with a picture on them, yeah. Okay, Yuri says, yeah, in her car, it was hanging from the rearview mirror. Okay, her car being that white Sunfire? Yeah, the one she was working at Universal after you guys broke up. Yeah, she said. Right, and she had just gone back to Universal? Yeah, she went back. A manager from Universal came to Sports Authority, and they talked to Casey, and they said, hey, we'd like you back to do this. But she started working there, but then she stated that she was going to have to be a personal trainer. She never said where. She said she was working out a lot to do that. Okay, and but she told you this guy came in to talk to her, right? You weren't there. You didn't witness it. Chris, no, I didn't witness it. That's what she said. Okay, Yuri said. Did she tell you? Did she ever call you from work or ever, tell you to call her work? Chris, no, it's always, no. Yuri, do you remember? Her on her cell phone, Chris says, yeah, she said she'd be back in her office and she was able to talk on her cell phone because she had Singular and we could talk for free. Yuri, okay, well, let's go back here, okay? Let's go back to your sheets of notes here. It says July 13th, 14th, texts were made by Casey about plans, and then, yeah, Chris says. Okay, Yuri says on July 15th. Chris says, yeah, I was driving to work, yep. I saw a girl that looked exactly like Casey. She was running, and I mean running down Chickasaw, doing that workout run, really working it, girl. And Yuri says, okay. And Chris says, I texted her, hey, are you running down Chickasaw? And she's like, no. And that was about the end of that. Yuri, about what time was that? You remember? Oh, boy. I was going to work. I'd say probably 9:30. Oh, okay. So about 9:30 in the morning, you texted her after she was running. Did she say she was going on the 15th? Did she say, cops are here. Hey, I'm busy. Cops are here. No, nothing like that. Okay. Nothing like that, Yuri says. July 16th, the next time? Oh, boy. Yeah, she texted me. Okay. Chris. Yeah, I don't know. I might be the brother using her phone. I'm not sure. But it said that Caylee's been missing for 32 days. And if you've seen her, please call my cell or their house number. And I replied like, what? Like, ecstatic? What? Ecstatic. Yuri says, and then Chris says, and then no answer back. Later on that day, I'm at work. Lee Anthony calls me basically asking if I knew anything and doing his own little, his own little private investigation, Mr. Private Detective. Yuri says, okay. Casey tried calling you from jail? Yes, sir, Chris says. Yuri says, do you remember what time that was? I don't know. I believe it was 11:30, 11:45 at night. Yuri says, okay. She say anything while she was there, or the connection she was trying to go through? Did she say anything, please help, or just... Oh, Chris says, I didn't, well, what happens is that the Orange County Correctional Facility, I believe is what it is, what it is, and said, do you accept this call from Casey? And it was, her voice. And that was the only voice I had heard from her. And so I hang up, and I called my parents, and I'm like, hey, Mom, Dad, what the freak do I do? She's calling me from the, jail. And they said, don't answer it. And she called back probably 3-4 minutes later. Yuri, okay. And since she's been in jail, have you actually talked to her while she was in jail at all? No. Yuri, okay. Have you visited her or anything? No, sir. Okay. It says right here you called the crime line? Chris, that was July 17th. Yes, sir. I was at work. I took a break from work, tried calling them, It took a couple of times to get through, and then I finally got through, and I gave them all the information. Okay. Which was kind of like, what information did you give them? Basically, this whole list. Okay, Yuri said. Chris says, yeah. I had, I had everything, I could remember at the time. And Detective White called you, I guess, try to reach out to you? Chris says, yeah, July 18th. 18th, says Yuri. Yeah, Chris says the 18th. I called him back probably an hour after that, and the next day, because I was in Tampa helping my aunt move. Yuri, okay. Did she ever go to Tampa with you? No, Chris says, that was probably the first time that I've really been to Tampa. Okay. Chris says, my aunt just moved from Atlanta, Georgia, so, I got to help her, if that's what family does. Okay, Yuri said, there's a number scribbled here, 156. That was the number that Crime Line gave me. Okay, all right, gotcha. So just clarify, okay? The last time you saw Casey was June 17th, 18th, or 19th, around there. She came to your house, right? Driving? Chris says, well, the last time I saw her was July 7th, Buffalo Wild Wings. Oh, says Yuri, okay, Buffalo Wild Wings with Lassen and Sean Daly. Yeah, Lassen, Sean Daly. Okay, so she wasn't with Caylee. No. The time before that, July 17, 18, 19, she stopped by. Do you remember what time of day that was? Oh, I don't know. I'd say she'd gotten off at work probably 5-ish. It's somewhere around 5. Okay. How long did she stay? Oh, Chris says an hour, 2 hours. I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun. I have no idea. I didn't keep a clock on her, okay? Yuri says, just talking while you were hanging out, right? Yeah, Chris says. We were, I don't know, we were just hanging out, doing our thing. Yuri says, okay. Chris says, yeah, sitting on the couch, just watching TV, talking. That's what they call it. Yuri says, okay. Did you say who the car was? Chris says, no. She said that her car, broke down. It was broke down AF. And she was just borrowing it from a friend, and she didn't say who. And, she said her car was acting up like last time I saw her, like on May 17th. And she said that she tried to start it, wouldn't turn over. And, I just kept telling her I'd fix it. But, yeah. All right, so the last time you saw her, July 7th, and then you never saw her, but she never sent you a text about Caylee or a text about, Chris. Well, except for the one that's saying that she's missing for 32 days, and when that was July 16th. Okay, that was the only, Chris says. Yuri says, so between the 16th and 7th of July, any messages about Caylee? No, sir. Okay, Yuri says, or missing, why do you think this kind of happened? You've known her for about 3 years, man. You kind of dated her, okay? You talked to her. Well, what's your take on this? What's your gut feeling? What happened? Chris is like, honestly, man, I don't know. I can't see her harming her kid on purpose. I can't. But something's telling me that something accidentally happened, that now she's scared to do anything about it. I don't know. It's far-fetched or anything like that. The boyfriend? You think the boyfriend is somebody? I don't know. There's so many theories that I have going on in my head. It's like a circus in here. Okay, Yuri says, did she ever make any comments to you about how Caylee might have been trying to disrupt their life? Like, she couldn't do it. Chris says, no, she never said that. Obviously we know Caylee was a surprise. Okay, big deal. A lot of kids are. But she never said anything like that where she tried to do, or that Caylee, was harmful to Casey, as far as disrupting her life. She never said that. Yuri, okay, kind of like, she's an obstacle. She can't go out. She can't have friends. She can't party. Can't do that. She ever mention anything like that to you? Anything ever come across like that to you? Chris, not really. she always, her daughter was her life, okay? Her daughter was the first part of her life, I mean, she'd go out with her friends, like when we went out. I mean, we didn't really go out drinking a while. Like, we go out to a movie, and then her mom would call her at 12 o'clock and be like, you need to get home, and she'd get right home. Yuri, did she ever tell you what a relationship was like with her mom? Oh boy. She said that they had a really strong relationship, but not so much with her dad. Yuri, okay, did she say why? Or, Chris, well, she said her dad would get involved in her life too much and, like, try to, like, push his beliefs off on her. Like, like, here's how you should act, yada, 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 how you should work, yada, yada, yada. The whole situation happened when they were getting a divorce. Her mom said that, we're going to be together and dad's going to be out of your life. I guess that was a lie then. Yuri, Chris, but, Yuri, did she say, Chris, she was talking about buying a house. I forget what the subdivision was called. It's by the dump. That's a lovely area. On Curry Ford. I mean, that her and her mom were talking about going and getting a new house for her and all this other stuff, and that she was saying like 250,000 is cheap for a house, which I don't know what kind of house she was looking at, but Yuri, do you know when this conversation was about a house? Oh yeah, it was actually July, June 17th. I'm so sorry, sir. Yuri, okay, so June 17th. She started saying about her and her mom moving into a different house. No, you're wrong. Just her and Caylee. Okay, Yuri says. Chris says, but her mom would look at it with her. I mean, like, but then I found out it's all not true. It's all nothing. It's fake. It's fake narrative, false. They never even looked at it. Yuri, have you ever met Amy Huzenga, her friend? Oh, yeah, Amy. Yes. Yuri, did she ever say anything about moving in with Amy? No, actually, one more thing. I just went over to Casey's house and, like, oh my gosh, parents and her friends and all this stuff. And yeah, Chris says about a week ago, not last Sunday, but that Sunday before last. Okay, Yuri says. Chris says, so I don't know if it has anything to do with it. Yuri says, okay, well, what were you guys talking about at the house? What was that conversation about? Chris says, well, basically, we were trying to give all the information to get her to her mom to figure out anything that's going on, any kind of, kind of get us all to vent to each other because all right, says Yuri, we really can't talk to anybody else about it, and I was just basically her closest friends. If you had to pick somebody that Casey was very, very close to, okay? I'm talking about extremely close, like peanut butter and jelly, okay? Peas and carrots, 2 peas in a pod, okay? That close. Who would it be? Annie. Annie, Chris says. That would be Annie. Spelling? Her last name? Oh, boy. Her last name starts with a B. We were going to go out to concerts together, and we were together a lot. Yuri, Chris, and then they were together a lot. Yuri, did Casey ever have a place where she liked to go and think? Any places like that you know of? Like, did she ever mention a park or, I don't know. Chris, she said she'd go to, oh boy, it's a park up at Dean. Oh yeah, J. Blanchard? Yuri, Blanchard Park? Blanchard Park. Okay. Yes, says Chris. All right. And any one particular area she would go and sit at that Blanchard Park, No, I don't know, says Chris. Yuri, why would she go there? Chris, just to take Caylee out. She never gave a reason. She just said, I'm going to take Caylee out and play with her out in the park. Okay, so you ever been with her out at that Blanchard Park when she took Caylee? Chris says, no. Okay, Yuri says, aside from that, are there any quiet places that she would go or any place like Oh my gosh, let's say she's stressed out. Where would she go? Right. Yeah, she'd go there. Okay, Yuri says, and she would go someplace there like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Um, let's see. Like some people go to the beach, right? Like at Mommy Ramblings, that's all she talks about is the beach. But some people go to mountains. I don't know. Chris says, yeah, right. Okay, just so you know. And then Chris says, well, she would drive to the beach sometimes. She did. And I've been to the beach with her a couple of times with Caylee. I have. Okay, says Yuri. And hey, with friends, but she would drive to the beach with friends. Nothing really alone. Like, the only place she ever went to alone with Caylee was like Blanchard Park, at least to me. Okay, Yuri says, do you know any places over on the far side? East side, like near what is that? Bithlow? Any friends that might live out there? Chris, not any that I can think of. Yuri, okay, aside from Amy. All right, stop getting so testy here. Aside from Amy, is there anyone else that she would open up to, okay? Anyone that you know? I don't. Yuri, tell her dirty little secrets too. Or anything like that. Chris, no, not that I can think of, I mean. Yuri, okay. I know I've asked you a bunch of questions. Yes, sir, you have. You've really been quite long-winded in this. Yuri, okay, if there's anything else that I might have stepped over here, I apologize. Is there anything else here that you think about with Casey and Caylee and about this whole situation that you think's important? Okay, about actions, conversations, or just stuff that's happened? Yeah, yeah, okay, I get you. I got your drift. Okay, that made you go, Chris says, yeah, I know. I mean, that's the whole thing that's been weird. I mean, it's been like, the way I see how she interacts with her kid. I've been at the house a million times. I've seen her fall down and pick her up, kiss her, like, you're okay. And then that's it. It's like the whole thing strikes me weird that anything would happen where she's acting the way she does in court. Yuri, yeah, have you ever caught her in a lie? For real? Yes. But it was something nominal, like where she was, like, as far as, like, she's out with a friend and she tells me she's home. Okay? And then Yuri says, did she ever give you a reason to doubt that she worked at Universal? Oh my goodness. No. I mean, she always had like money, and I know that she was taking that money from her parents or something, okay? But like she never told me, she never had me pay for anything. Like when we went out, like she'd always say she'd offer to pay, but I would like pay for 2 tickets or something like that. She would never want me to pay for anything. How would she pay for stuff like when she paid? Do you remember? Oh, yeah, she had cash. What about when she worked for Sports Authority? Yeah, again, you never saw her working there, right? Okay, all right. You never saw her working there? No. You wanted to let me know. Is there anything else you want to let me know as far as Casey? I'm trying to think of anything. I really can't. Can't think of anything else, I mean. Okay. Chris, the day before Mother's Day, which was, I think it was Cinco de Mayo, I saw her on Cinco de Mayo. I was out with a bunch of my friends, and then she was sitting and talking with my parents for like a couple of hours. I was like, oh man. And I came home, and then like we decided to go out. Says Yuri, but that's the only thing I can think of. Yuri, has she ever borrowed any money from any family members or cars or anything to do errands? No, never borrowed any of our cars. Okay, and we're pretty confident here. The last couple of times you saw her, July 7th at Buffalo Wild Wings, right? You saw her there with other people, right? Says Chris. Okay, Yuri says, and July and June 17th, 18th, 19th, right? That's when she came to your house, right? Chris, yeah, right. Okay, in that area, yeah. Okay, and let's get to this now. Okay, that's as much as I can remember, sir. Says Chris. Yuri's like, okay, so before June 17th and July 7th, you're pretty confident you didn't see her. In person, Chris says. Yeah, I'm almost 100%. Okay, what about May 17th to June 17th? You pretty confident you didn't see her? When I told you I saw her at a bar briefly, like a brief encounter, and that was it. A bar? Yuri says. Chris says, I want to say Scoops. It's off 50 and Alfalfa. Okay. Who was she with? You remember? Chris, no, she wasn't with anybody when I saw her, but we kind of just went our separate ways. Yuri, do you remember approximately when it was? Yuri, if you don't know a date, it's fine, but just ballpark it, okay? Okay, it was probably like the beginning of June, Chris says. Yuri says, called Scoops? Chris, I don't... It was probably closer to June 17th, so mid-June, I don't know. She decided to come over a few days later, stop, hey. Oh, Yuri, okay, so a couple of days before June 17th. So yes, yeah. And then you ran into at Scoops? And you didn't see her with anyone? No, she was with nobody. And then she decided to walk away because there's two parts to Scoops. Mm-hmm. And Chris says, I don't know. I mean, there's a bar area there. All right, says Yuri. Okay, there's a dance floor, so once it gets crowded, you really don't see anybody, okay? And I was with my friends, Yuri. So, did she, when you guys got to Scoops, you and your friends, did she ever come up to you and start talking? Oh, yeah, she did. She's like, hey, Chris. And I went well, hey, what's going on? And then we talked for probably 5 minutes at the most. And she was like, okay, gotta go. Okay. So Yuri says, all right, okay. And Chris says, and that's about it. Okay, that's about it. All right, well, you got my number. So if you remember anything, you just shoot me a call, okay? Because, we're trying to get this together, piece this together. It's a really big puzzle. Okay, so you have open contact. You call me, okay? Okay, that's fine. And everything you told me is the truth, right? Yes, okay. So that's the end of that one. Now, hold on a minute because I have to go put my phone down on the thing here. Casey lied about her whole life, Val said. Yeah, looks like that, Val, doesn't it? It truly does. Okay, now, I want to talk about a couple of other things, too. There was a guilty verdict I have to talk to you about. I have to talk to you about Matthew Walsh, and I have to talk to you about, that ship thing. Okay, so I have to talk to you about 3 current events. So we're going to take a little detour away from Casey Anthony when I come back on. It's going to be 2 minutes. I want to get what do I want to get? Something. Okay, I'll be right there. I'm going to put my phone on the thing. My watch, I mean. Let me see. My watch has to go on the thing. The charger, or my watch won't be charged. Hold on a second. Here, Mr. Watch. Okay. All right. Next. Did we find out if Scooter won? I can't believe she's ignoring us like this. It's so rude. Okay. So we're going to take a quick trip down current events. Hold on, because there's some current events. Okay. Here we go. Matthew Lands. So the Cobb County judge, it was a bench trial in Georgia. She found him guilty on all charges in the 2021 shooting of the new neighbors, the ones that he left with a 2-year-old in the house that was cuddling with his parents. So Judge Sonia Brown convicted Matthew Scott Lands of the murder of the Cherokee County firefighter Timothy Justin Hicks and his wife Amber Hicks. Lands left the couple's 2-year-old son alone with their bodies for hours after the murders. He was charged with 2 counts of malice murder, 4 counts of felony murder, a home invasion, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, second-degree cruelty to children, and tampering with evidence. The verdict came after the 4-day trial. She made a verdict very quickly. It was very quickly. She had that verdict. Let's see, they showed, I told you their audio was terrible of all the surveillance and the interviews they showed. It was just terrible. And then, let me see here. They're going to sentence him, I believe, tomorrow. Let me just make sure of that. I believe he gets sentenced tomorrow. Let me see. I think he is getting sentenced tomorrow. Oh boy. She did say see you tomorrow, so. Let's see, what's the sentencing? Yeah. Friday sentencing hearing, yeah. Both sides will present arguments. The court will hear the victim's impact statements. That'll be tomorrow. And that'll be very emotional because they were cheering in the court today. So yeah, victim's impact statements and sentencing, that'll be tomorrow. Next, we have another development, okay? Hang on. The woman 18-year-old, who was killed on that Carnival cruise, they're believing it's a 16-year-old stepbrother that was involved, and he was obsessed with her, according to the father of an old boyfriend. And that once this is according to him, he had gone on top of her like while she was sleeping or something, and the girl's bed was found underneath the bed on the ship with life preservers all on her. Let me see here and now. Okay. Let me go over here so we can get this. Okay. So let me get a graphic up here so we know what we're talking about. So we had a, it was actually this is a hearing, court hearing, in Anna Kepner's death. The FBI has not confirmed the 16-year-old is a suspect, nor have they disclosed the details. Chantel Kepner, who's and this is another thing, the mother, the biological mother, said she was being kept from the funeral and she was going to put on a disguise to get in there. And I just don't understand. I believe, and I'm trying to find it. Okay, here it is. Oh, hold on. Let me get her picture up there. See, my ADD is going crazy. Let me get her picture up there. I'm sorry I'm eating a cracker too, but I have to have some sustenance. I'm trying to be as quiet as I can with the cracker. Okay. Uh-oh, get over there. Oh my goodness. Go on, get. This is like going to be like really crazy how this is going, okay? Here's the backstory. Anna Kepner was born on June 13, 2007. To Christopher Kepner and Heather Wright. Her parents were not married at the time of her death. Her father's wife, Chantel Kepner, is listed in the obituary as the late teenager stepmother. Trying to get to the part where the biological mother says they're keeping her away from the funeral. Okay, so then Anna attended Titusville High School. She was a member of the varsity cheer team. She was later Astronaut High School before she ended up at Temple Christian School. She was expected to graduate in 2026. She had a dream of joining the U.S. Navy and later becoming a K-9 police officer. She had just finished taking a test to join the military, and she was already talking to recruiters. Now, she was a sister to 7 siblings: Andrew, Tim, Alex, Connor, Cody, Caylee, and Brooke. Some of them step-siblings from her dad's second marriage. She loved her siblings deeply and made sure they always felt it. Now, on November 8th, she was found dead while traveling on the Carnival Horizon cruise ship. It's reported that a housekeeper found her body under the bed. Like I said, she had life jackets, life preservers on top of her. She had been traveling with her dad, his wife, and 3 of her step-siblings. She went back to her room after telling him she wasn't feeling well the night before she was found, right? Okay. On November 19th, it was reported that one of Kepner's step-siblings is being looked at by federal agents in connection with her death. That came from a court filing in a separate case pertaining to the stepmother's former marriage. But I also heard that the biological mother, and I'll tell you about that too. Okay. Here we go. So that was, see if I can get this here. 2024 court documents reveal that there was turmoil in the family before Anna's death. And they tell about custody disputes inside the house. But where's the thing about the mother? Because I looked at this earlier and definitely saw that. I hate when they go and then they put something and then they take it down, you know? Because she said she was going to wear a wig and high heels or something. Let me see. Might be in here. Okay, biological mother speaks out. Here we go. Let's see. Her funeral took place in Orlando on Thursday. There was tension among family members, and some were told they were not welcome to go to the funeral. Her biological mother spoke out. Oh my gosh, where did you put that? This is so crazy because all right, let me look over here. Okay, here we are. Now I'm looking at, let me see, even stepmother that her husband removed family members from the obituary and banned them from the funeral. But at the end of the day, her son will be in jail. Now, how do they know it was the stepmother that did that? That's what I want to know. How do they know it was the stepmother that banned them? Because I mean, I don't know that they did, right? That it was the stepmother that banned them. Okay, here's. Now people are saying that, boy, social media is going crazy with this right now. Absolutely crazy. Some are saying that the stepmother and stepfather are not married, and the other ones are throwing out marriage licenses. It's crazy. Okay. Okay, so apparently there was a custody dispute between the stepmother and her ex-husband, and he was trying to get custody of at least one child. But that's not what I'm trying to tell you about. I'm trying to tell you about the mother was not asked to go to the funeral. Let me go, and she was going to wear a disguise. So let me just get this. Okay. Okay, here's something that's saying in a bombshell. A leaked transcript from a Tampa interrogation reveals that 16-year-old breaking down in tears, allegedly confessing to strangling the 18-year-old on the Carnival Horizon. Now, I don't know if this is true, this confession. Let me see here. She wouldn't stop screaming. I don't know if this is true. Let me see. Birth mom Heather Wright, who first learned of her daughter's death via social media, she supposedly posted a 3-minute TikTok. Wow, social media is something, right? They made my baby disappear under a bed like she was garbage. The boy took her from me twice, once when they shut me out of her life, and now forever. Okay, I don't know if the mother, I don't know the mother's TikTok. I do know what I read before, and I read that from a legitimate source. Let me see here. Anna's ex-boyfriend, Josh's father. Yes, that's what I was reading on that, on Josh's father. He had written something. He said, I'm reaching out to you because my son dated Anna for almost a year until June, and her stepbrother was always going into Anna's room in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m., while my son and her were on FaceTime together, and she fell asleep, and my son saw him and told him to get the hell away from her when he saw him on the FaceTime call when she was asleep. He did tell her parents about it. I just wanted to let you know I'm sorry you're all going through this. I'm devastated. I spent time with Anna and my son when they were together. Okay, and then we have when we get to the part where the mother said, to the family, I'm trying to, okay, here's the court papers. Apparently there was that, and there is a hearing, let's say, Chantel Hudson is the stepmother, and it was Thomas Hudson, her ex-husband, and let's see what he, okay, here's the court papers. Okay, this is filed 11/17. Okay, this is not 2024. This is filed 11/17/2025. And it's come now, respondent Chantel Hudson. By and through the undersigned's counsel hereby files this motion for a continuance of hearing on the petitioner's emergency motion for contempt and enforcement, which is set for December 17th to be rescheduled. As grounds, therefore, states the undersigned counsel is the attorney of record and has been retained by the respondent in this instant action. 2, an extremely sensitive and severe circumstance has arisen wherein the respondent, the mother, will not be able to testify at the hearing at this time. Currently, there is an investigation being conducted by the FBI arising out of a sudden death of an 18-year-old Anna Kepner, who was found deceased on November 9th, 2025 on a Carnival cruise. Ms. Anna Kepner, the deceased, is the daughter of the respondent's paramour. Now here it says paramour. Okay, here it says they're not married, but somebody thought they found a marriage license. But on this court paper, it says paramour. So they're not even married, according to this. And the respondent and the minor children of this instant action were all on the cruise ship together. The respondent has been advised that through discussions with the FBI that a criminal case may be initiated against one of the minor children of this instant action. The respondent's privilege against self-incrimination must be invoked pursuant. Okay, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, yada, yada, yada. Any testimony, okay, so she wants a continuance, and so that would say that it's a paramour and it's not married, unless they just got married, I don't know, but, I don't know, let me see here. What else is going on? Another. Okay, now who's this? This is, I need everybody's help. This is my niece, Anna Kepner. This woman's saying she's the aunt. She was 18, was on a cruise with her dad, stepmom, and other family members. I cannot stay silent any longer. The stepmom, son, allegedly killed her, stuffed her naked, beaten body in a sheet, and stuffed her under a bed, covered her with life jackets, then slept on that bed like nothing happened. He told his stepmom, well, not his stepmom, that would be his mom, when no one could find Anna on the ship. So yes, they know who did this. It sickens me that the father, Chris, remains silent. Please pass this on. Now, we don't know, is that really the aunt? Do we really know that that's really the aunt? You know, the people on there, it could very well be, and it could also be someone on social media, right? We have to know everybody in that. Let's see. His name was removed from the obituary along with Tabitha's and banned from the funeral. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Now, since he posted this truth, his name was removed from the obituary along from Tabitha's. Hang on a minute. Hold on. Let me see what else we have in here. I know that. See, it's bothering me that I read this thing about the mother and now let's see. Did the family leave the boat or did they wait? Okay. Who's writing the obituary? Let's see. The stepmother, by the end of the day or someone, okay. But who says that the stepmother, do we know she wrote the obituary? Okay. What is this? What the heck is that? Who is this? Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, this is the father. What's going on with the father here? This is the stepmom. Okay, the stepmother. Wow, she's locked. Okay. And the dad. It looks like. Huh. Okay, so. All right. I'm gonna search for. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! What the heck is that? Now, let me look for the thing where she said a wig, because she definitely said a wig and high heels. Definitely, 100%. She said, I'm 4 foot something. And I read it. I was talking to Jen about it. And I'm going to go look for this because, let me see. Mother. Wig and high heels, right? Okay. Let's see. Got to be able to find this. Okay. Step further. Maybe it was this one. Let me see. Okay. In an emergency filing Monday in Brevard County in a separate case relating to Kepner's stepmother's past marriage, it states the stepmother was requested to pause testimony in the divorce hearing. Okay, so she's not even divorced yet. So I don't know where somebody see. You gotta watch social media. Someone's posting a freaking marriage license. She's not married. They're not married. She's not really a stepmother. They're not married. Let's see. But that's not saying it either. Now. Now I feel like I'm going crazy. I really do, because I know I read that about she was going to wear a wig and heels. This is crazy. What's up with this? Does it make sense? I freaking read this thing. Let me see if I have it anywhere. Did I? See, I usually keep all my tabs open and then I shut down a bunch of stuff. This is making me angry. Okay, let me see something. Okay, maybe this. Hold on. Anna's body was stuffed under the bed, covered in life vests. Okay. This was where I read it. I wonder if they took it off. Oh no, here's her biological mother. Heather Kepner has not seen her daughter in years after moving to Oklahoma. Okay, and but was proud of Anna, who had dreams of joining the Navy. And when I read this earlier, and I know, so it looks like I don't know what, they took it off? That's so weird. That is really, really weird. Okay, maybe it's on this one. Hold on. I know that this is... I'm really feeling... Okay. Well, I think I definitely found where I was. Let me see. Why is it? Her funeral was held Thursday in Titusville, but her biological mother, here it is, Heather Kepner, said that she was barred from attending due to long-standing family tensions, but will do what it takes to say goodbye. I'm going to wear a disguise. I'm going to put a wig on and wear some really tall shoes because I'm 4'9". She's been divorced from her daughter's father 13 years ago. Heather said that she hasn't seen her daughter regularly in years since moving to Oklahoma, but was proud of Anna, who had dreams of joining the U.S. Navy, eventually becoming a K-9 police officer. She was a really good child. She never really complained about much. She always was trying to make everyone smile, an extremely happy child. The FBI has been leading the investigation since Anna died on international waters, and they have remained tight-lipped on details. Well, I don't think they're going to be able to remain tight-lipped much more because social media is going crazy and they are putting everything out there, including a confession from the alleged 16-year-old. So I don't think they're going to be able to stay quiet too long. That's what I don't think so. And apparently if that is the mother making TikToks, and if that is the aunt and the uncle that are talking, it's a big difference in investigations now that's going on, where social media has changed that drastically. Let's see now. So it says here the murdered teenager's stepbrother is a suspect in her murder. Let's see, it says... the revelation came from a messy custody dispute between Kepner's stepmother, Chantel Hudson, and her ex-husband. But he's not her ex-husband yet because they just said this is a divorce. See, this is like so crazy. There's so many little things left out. Chillingly, Chantel accused her ex, Thomas, of domestic and physical abuse against their two youngest children, including the boy who is now being questioned by the FBI. She said Thomas is the subject of an active Florida Department of Children and Families investigation. The stepbrother was identified as TH in the documents. He remains in the care of his mother's relatives as the investigation into Kepner's death on board the Carnival cruise November 7th continues. Thomas fired back, accusing Chantal of a violent altercation with the couple's oldest son, who is an adult. The fight allegedly involved Chantal and her new husband, Christopher Kepner, Anna's father. The allegations, which Chantal disputes, came to light after she went to court to try to postpone a hearing scheduled for December to address custody issues with her former husband, with whom she divorced in 2023. Now they're saying she divorced him in 2023. Oh my gosh. Thomas also blames his 16-year-old son's legal trouble on his ex-wife's decision to keep him away from his father, saying his future has been put in jeopardy because of the choices made by Chantal. Chantal Hudson and two of her children set sail November 2nd on the Carnival Caribbean cruise that would end in tragedy, along with Christopher and Anna. Anna was reportedly found dead in her room, wrapped in a blanket, covered in life jackets, at the tail end of the 6-day cruise. The ship returned to the port of Miami the following day as scheduled. Okay, and then let me see. Apparently this is the stepmother and the father. I'll put their picture over there. Okay, now let me go back here because I'm not done with this yet. I can't even see if you guys are still here. I hope you are, but if you're not, I'm talking to myself. It's okay. Let me go.
We're all still here,
Oh,
Carol.
okay. Oh, you scared me, Jen.
Oh my God. my voice is like crazy dry too. So I sound
Okay.
I
All right.
sound funny. Sorry.
This is crazy though. Okay, now because if you look, I won't put, I'm not putting the kid up there because but he looks so young for he looks a really young 16, like it's crazy.
But how did nobody hear anything? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And if she was going for the Marines and everything, she already passed the test. She knows a lot of stuff. She's strong.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. It's crazy. Like, well,
wonder if he drugged her or...
It said in that thing that it said that he strangled her or something allegedly to shut her up, just to make her stop because he was trying to quiet her down, like, and then I don't know. That's just what it's saying, but I don't know how true that is. Let's see. But I don't understand that. I don't think they are married because we would never say paramour in a court paper if they were married. Paramour she's not married to him, so that's a lie. And let's see here. The younger brother of Anna Kepner unknowingly went to sleep just a few feet away from his dead sister after the boy noticed she wasn't in the cabin, but assumed she'd gotten up to spend time with her parents. Now this is older, this is now. So how do they say unknowingly if he killed her, unless they're talking? I am so confused. According to a chilling new report, Anna had been sharing the Carnival cruise ship with her brother. Oh, her brother. This is 14-year-old brother. See, people have this wrong too. And the 16-year-old stepbrother. They just said they had their own rooms. This is all over the place. However, Her two siblings headed back to the room where the younger brother changed his clothes, left again to take pictures, and continued on the voyage. When the teen came back, he noticed Anna wasn't in bed, but he assumed she'd gone out. The young boy thought nothing of it and went to sleep. However, Anna was last seen on this ship's surveillance. But where was the 16-year-old then? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is such a crazy case. Amazing. Is anybody saying anything in the chat? Do they know anything about this, or you guys following anything like this? It's crazy. Well, let's see. Here's a picture with everybody else's faces blurred out. That's been on Facebook, and this is the stepmother, this is the father, here is Anna, and let's see. Who can tell? They're saying the body language here. Let's see, what's the body language? The body language. Well, we've got crossed arms here. And I believe that this child right here is the one, because one of her sons is an adult. I think these are the two youngest child, and I believe, no, she has hold on a minute, it's just so confusing. I think she has a 14-year-old brother. I don't even know anymore. I think everybody's so crazy. I think she might be one of three no, she had three. One of hers is an adult. One of the stepmother's kids is an adult. I think they've got something wrong here in this picture. Let me see. Okay, somebody said with the background profile picture. But I thought the latest wife had 2 or 3 kids. Who are the 2 boys? Yeah, they've got this all wrong here. The dad is holding the older boy's arm. Dad is holding. No, that you see, they can't. Can't look. Stepmom looks kind of young. Back to that for a second. Let me see where. Now, surveillance footage sheds light. Bio mom hasn't seen her in years. The people she lived with, dad, new wife, not really. Okay. Birth mother says she learned her daughter died via an online search. Okay. Okay, so they're saying the surveillance footage on there is, and here's another one that's saying, yes, Anna's my niece. She was my niece. She was found deceased on a Carnival cruise. The only thing I know is that she was with her dad. Anything after that, your guess is as good as mine. No, I'm not reading any of the online reports. I will find out from her dad what the cause of death was. All I can say is, Anna Marie Kepner, sweetheart, you were a beacon of light. Okay, so that was 3 days ago. That woman wrote that. But I'm not sure. Okay. It's nuts, but it looks like it's got to be the stepbrother, according to those court papers. I don't think she would put that in there. Let me see something over here. There's something, maybe. Telling the mom she couldn't go to the memorial, and the mother said she was going to wear a wig. Yeah. Okay, and there's an ex-boyfriend that's talking about the stepbrother. The court documents are talking about that. Let's see. But there's going to be some charges coming tomorrow, probably. Let's see. There's something. Mysterious death. He was not on the cruise. There's so much stuff going on. Anna's father previously told the media the FBI questioned every member of the family. Okay, it said that Anna's uncle Martin Donahue shared a detailed and disturbing account of what he believes happened on the cruise ship. Okay, now they're saying her real uncle has commented and he has the same name she does. Is he the dad's brother? Okay. There's a lot of missing pieces. Yeah, but there's what is this? Stepbrother. Now they say this is fake. Well, this is a thing here. Is up. According to documents. I don't know. It's crazy. But Matt Walsh is his trial's supposed to start December 1st. I guess they're going to wait till after Thanksgiving. They're not going to start it and break it up, I guess. Let me see where the chat is. Find them. This is crazy. Yeah, I've got to remember I've got an appointment tomorrow. Write that down. Okay, Val, the dad is holding a girl. Yeah. Well, we don't know. Allegedly, Hart. We don't know yet. I mean, that's coming from people that are alleging themselves to be family members on the internet. What was reported in the media is that her body was found under the bed, wrapped in a sheet, and there were life jackets on her. That's what is said in the media, but the other stuff and the court papers about what the stepmother said. Val said, if he said this stuff, is the kid under arrest? It's a mess. Hello, Sassy. It's a real mess. But, yeah, not looking... I probably could tell you the way the social media is going out of control. I bet you they will have an arrest tomorrow. I don't know. Let me see here. Let's see. Stepbrother. They're saying that the stepbrother, their TH, is now a suspect in the death of Anna Kefner. So, let's see this here. All right, this is the death of the Titusville student. And the Carnival Horizon is now the focus of the federal criminal investigation. And it's because of that emergency motion in the 18th Judicial Circuit. Chantal disclosed that the FBI is conducting a criminal investigation into Anna's death, and currently there's an investigation about Anna Kefner, and then in here it says, the filing goes on to say that Hudson cannot testify in an unrelated family court matter because doing so could be prejudicial to her or her adolescent child in this pending criminal investigation. What is this now? And here's something else. Now they're saying the grandmother speaking out publicly claims Anna was murdered. In a public Facebook comment, Anna's grandmother, Barbara Collins Kepner, allegedly wrote, my granddaughter was 18, no drugs or alcohol. She was murdered. Yes, she was murdered. That is why the FBI was there. Again, this is all alleged, okay? This is the first public allegation from a close family member claiming homicide. Law enforcement has not confirmed this. Father says FBI questioned everyone, has given them no answers. Anna's father, Christopher, has said that every member of the family was questioned. He described the family's emotional collapse. He said, I have had to shut the world out. I do not watch the TV anymore. We have literally had to stop everything to do with the internet. We are very private people. Our lives have been turned upside down. Imagine, yeah. He said the FBI has not informed him of any findings. And let's see, then they talk about that uncle. They say an Uncle Martin Donahue is saying this as well. And let's see, so social media is going crazy. Again, take it with a grain of salt until it's confirmed. But it's looking like that is going to be the case based on the legal filings that she has. I don't know. Let's see. An attorney filed the motion. Okay. I think something's gonna go on tomorrow. Whatever it is, it's like terrible. I mean, just terrible situation all around. There's an 18-year-old girl dead. There's a 16-year-old boy that, you know, might have done this. Family, you know, there's just more hurt and injured people all around. It's like, what the heck is going on? You know, why would a 16?
Carolyn, they must have cameras though, right?
Yeah, they said
I'm
there's
sure.
yeah, they said there's some surveillance, but it wouldn't be in the room. It would be, and I don't know if they were like
They could see like who came in and out. So,
yeah.
and if she was strangled, she can't do that herself, unless she hung herself. But that's so sad.
Yeah. And it's now her best friend is breaking her silence. But what is her best? Her best friend wasn't on the ship, so her best friend is getting stuff. Let's see here. There's like so many people. According to the father of Anna's ex-boyfriend, he claims the family knew of an unhealthy infatuation that her stepbrother had with her. One night, Anna's ex, and this kid Josh is around there now, he's giving interviews. The boyfriend witnessed it on the FaceTime. He believes that the stepbrother was infatuated with her. And did Anna's uncle just expose her real killers? Apparently, I don't know. Now they're putting the stepmother with the FBI probe. See what's going on here. There's no way that video evidence can prove that he wasn't drinking on the ship because all you have to do is pour a drink in the cabin. Was even talking about that. Was hospitalized. So apparently, I don't know, they're saying the 16-year-old was allegedly hospitalized for unknown reasons, now living with a relative on the mom's side of the family. This about I don't know where these people are reading all of this now. So I guess there's a court hearing, and he is hospitalized after the death.
What if he wanted to commit suicide, or
I don't know.
over what happened?
Let's see, and they're saying he was out till 4 in the morning. I don't know. It's crazy. And now the father's blaming her for. What the heck is going on here? Crazy. It just keeps it like. Coming at me. see, a church is preparing. That was the memorial, and that the mother's saying that she's in Oklahoma, but she, it sounds like the family had issues, like a lot of issues, and I don't know. Let me see here. And file members 14. Let's see here. Oh, no, I don't want that. I want that. Come on. Okay. Let's changing my search. Hold on, I'm trying to bring up something here. Okay, let's see if I can find something over here. Kepner. All right, let's see. Latest. Let's do latest. Okay, so body was found under her bed in her stateroom on the Carnival Cruise Line. Boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend is speaking. Okay. Okay, now they said an hour ago, okay, they said that one of the papers is saying that he was taken into custody. Okay, but it's the Sun, so that's from the UK. Let's see if that's, I don't know, the reliability, because that's kind of, to me, it's like a step above the National Enquirer, but it, see, it was updated. They said an hour ago. It says Anna Kepner's step-sibling, 16, taken into custody over cruise death as FBI probes surveillance video of the cheerleader. So is it true or not? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's see if they're just... where are they saying he was taken into custody? Oh, now they're saying, okay. The 16-year-old stepchild has since been released from custody and is see, they're I hate when they do this stuff. That's why it's the Sun, okay? And is residing with a third-party, court documents say. So he was taken into custody, probably for questioning. They let him go. He was not even taken into custody. He was probably detained for questioning, let go, but he's not. That's why you can, yeah. Okay. And then you've got people all over saying that he was just, The young relative is staying with a third party at an unknown location. Oh, let me tell them that they're wrong here. Hold on. Let's see what else. Something more credible than the son, okay? Ex-boyfriend claims stepbrother climbed on top of her months before she was found dead under the bed. Babysitter became and now they're saying the stepmother was the babysitter. Okay. Anna's biological mother was told not to come to the funeral for her daughter. She said she was going to wear a wig and heels. Apparently the mother. Apparently her mother's gone on Inside Edition. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. I did think the FBI is going to have no choice because of the way social media is going crazy. Some of this stuff you can't even say. Like, they've already got, like, a witch hunt going and all of that, so they're going to have to do something. Okay, let's see now. Where's the Janet? The father is saying the step. No, these are people on social media. There's so many people on social media claiming to be somebody. That's what I'm saying, Hart. There's so many people. It's like a circus out there. They're going to have to. You don't know what's real and what's not real, and they're turning it into just like a witch hunt. And I don't know. That's the problem with the information at the speed we get it. See, before the internet, police used to be, just able to take their time working something. Now, people feel like it's their right. They're going to go there. They're going to investigate it. They're going to put all the facts out. And sometimes they jeopardize a case in doing that. And that's why, I like to be careful, only put out basically what is out already. There's a lot of stuff I saw that I'm not going to talk about it because we don't know what's true, what's not true yet. And that's the bad part of social media, and everybody will tell you that because they want instant gratification. I want to know. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think something will happen tomorrow, probably, the way it's going. I have an appointment tomorrow, and I've got another YouTube thing too. Something, and I have to see when my other appointment is. Hold on. I have an appointment at 2. It's just that, I mean, that's a tremendous tragedy. That is a tremendous tragedy. And all the lives impacted by that. That's what I'm saying. It's all this stuff that a lot of people maybe don't think about or whatever, but like the other siblings in that family, of course, like, then we wonder why people have so much trauma and people are so damaged. It's just, it's crazy. It's just, I don't know. Let me see here now. Just have to see what time this thing is. Oh, hold on a minute. I gotta do this for him. Well, he definitely wants that. Hold on, I gotta do something for Luke here. Opt him into something. And then I'll do the word puzzle. Let's see, I've got to do home. Spin. I agree. Can't believe tomorrow's Friday, right? Oh my gosh. How, yes. Yes, they do. Next. Yes. Okay, good. I got that then. All right, let me do this now. Grudge. No.
Rude.
Rude is there, but why did I think there was grudge? There's not another G. True. Two. Red. Rude. Dog. Dog. Okay. Oh shoot, I've got to check the fire. Hold on a minute. Oh my gosh. I hope it didn't go out. Oh my gosh, I'm not being very good at keeping this fire going. Better not have gone out, Mr. Fire. gosh, okay. I had to start all over from scratch. That's what I don't understand, how Chris Watts allegedly did not know how to build a fire. How do you grow up in North Carolina? How do you grow up anywhere and not know how to build a fire? It'd save your life.
Right. Right.
Who doesn't know how to build a fire? Gosh, as kids we had campfires out here. It's not, oh my gosh. I don't know. But how do you grow up in somewhere like that and not know how to build a fire? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, let me just go. I just have to see what time my other freaking appointment is tomorrow. Appointment 2. All right, let's see. Okay, YouTube. Oh, they're saying, they sent me something about the hype stuff. And they said that you cannot hype a live video while it's live, but you should be able to hype it when it's not live after a certain period of time. But I think you can only hype videos for like 48 hours.
Oh,
I think that's what.
3 per week. That's what it said before.
Okay, let me see. Oh, here's the thing. Okay, so what time is that? 1. Oh, okay. Let me just write this down. This is 4. Is that? Tomorrow's the 20. This is 21st, right? Yes, it is. Okay. 11.
Well, that's today, yeah.
Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah.
21st.
Yeah.
I know, I say the same thing.
Until I go to bed, wake up, it's tomorrow.
Right, me too.
4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is a tricky one, Carolyn, with these letters.
Yeah, and then there's 1 to 11:25. That's got to be at 12. That would be, they made a mistake on that. 11:25. YouTube made a mistake. Okay, let's see. 11:25 at 12 p.m. and I think I have the other thing at 2. Okay. All right. Hopefully I'll remember everything there. Let's see. Fall into shorts. All right. Sorry. Now I'm back on the puzzle. Let me get back on here. Freaked out about that thing. That's just crazy. All right. You got duet and dread. Okay. Oh, duet. Yeah, right there. And dread. Okay. No. They didn't have dread. Duet is there. Tug. Yeah, tug should be there. Where's high 61?
I don't know.
Usually. And murder.
Usually it comes up automatically, Catherine.
Victoria.
She's talking about trying to find where to hype it. And if it allows it, like, it shows it underneath.
Oh, yeah, there's a what?
There
Yeah, some
it
people.
automatically comes up
Let me see what it says
underneath the
about.
video.
Yeah, it's you should be able to see it, Hart. Let's see what it says here.
It comes up right where the description would be. And then you just click on it to hype.
Okay, it says here, I'll tell you what it says here. It says, viewers can now hype your videos. Oh, from the last 7 days. Your videos get points, which may help them land on a leaderboard. Okay, and it says, let me see, come on, move this silly thing. Thought I knew. Wait, come on. Hype was developed, okay, but I know I read something earlier today and it actually said learn more. Okay, here, I'll give you the link to learn more, Hart. That must be where I read this about hype. This wants to ever open up. Okay. Hyping videos eligibility. It says Hype is designed for up-and-coming YouTube partner programs between 500 and 500,000 subscribers. Your viewers can hype your videos to show their excitement. Okay, and then it says, come on, my gosh, this is so slow. Okay, here we go. Upload a video, empower your fans, watch your channel, manage hyping, eligibility. Where did I read it? I read about the kind of videos that can be hyped. For the first 7 days after you published a video, viewers will see the option to hype. When a video is hyped, points are immediately applied. Eligibility and individual videos. Okay. Okay, so the only, let me see here. Live streams or premieres while live can't be hyped, but they said after the archived long form videos can be hyped afterwards. And you should see it, like Jen said, I can't see it because I can't hype anything because I'm a brand account. We don't, but that's why we can't get gifted memberships either. I don't know why they do that to us. And I can't gift memberships either, like, it's ridiculous. Every creator that's not a brand account gets a certain number of memberships they can gift. That I don't get him because I'm a brand account. All right, let's see where you guys are. Drug, yeah, drug is probably there. Okay, and did get I know, right? Hard, it's ridiculous, isn't it? One rock. Oh, rut's gotta be rut. Okay, true. water. Let's see. Oh boy. I think we're gonna have to do one of these heart.
This is a tricky one.
Not really helping us that much. Oh, urge. That has to be, yeah. And urged. I think that was two that helped us with. We don't have anything. That one. Okay, it's gotta be. Oh, yeah. Did we do grudge? Yeah, there's not another G though. Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. You're behind C again? Scooter never came in, right, to tell us what she won?
No, I haven't seen her.
Huh. She's flown, she's gone, she's in Costa Rica somewhere or something. It's gotta be. We need one more of these. I thought it was something like that. I was on the right. Vacation. Trash. All right. I need a little help tonight. Okay, and just gotta see what time it is. I know there was somebody.
Yeah, someone had said drudge.
Oh, Nora, I didn't say hi to you tonight. Nora. Hi, Nora. Well, I wonder where Victoria is. And Mary Frontini. She's okay. And Scooter, we have to find out what she's doing. But we'll see you guys all tomorrow. I put up, if you want to check it out, some of the Black Friday deals. And some of them you can get now. Okay, and there's some good buys in there, so check it out. Hold on, I gotta see what time my other appointment is. I don't know what time my other appointment is. Oh boy, let's see. Where's Dee Dee? I don't even know who she is. Let me see here. Make these appointments, and then I don't know where they are. Okay, 2 p.m. Let me write that down. I'm so bad. I used to keep my agenda so long.
Oh, Catherine put drudge twice.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I was trying to look back who did it. That was a good one.
Okay. 2 p.m. is, wow.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Let me say 2 p.m. I have, what's her name? What is her name? Oh my gosh. Oh, gosh, that was scary. Okay. Do that. All right, let me. This down, this down. Hold on, and then I have to get to the thing to stop this. Stop. Oh my goodness. I can't stop the stupid live. It's not stupid. I can't get there yet, guys. My computer's really being a jerk tonight. Okay, here we are. All right, guys. Love you guys. God bless. Prayers. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good. And there we go. Yep. End it. End it. Oh my gosh, this is not ending the live.
No, I
Now
still
it
see it.
finally, yeah.